Meeting to order. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the moment of silence. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
Here.
Trustee Stylen.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee McNaughton. Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Troicki.
Present. Okay. Next, we have community recognition. Is there consider for approval resolution 24-008 recognizing the accomplishments of ICE All-Stars Blue Dynasty?
I'll make that motion.
Sounds like everybody. Give it to Trustee Consolino. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason. All right, I'm going to read the resolution. Resolution number 24-008, resolution recognizing the accomplishments of ICE All-Stars Blue Dynasty. Whereas the Village of Homer Glen, oh wait, is that what I read now? No, because we have to vote.
All in favor.
Wait a minute, I have to take a second here. Because we can't vote under recognition, correct? We're going to take a timeout for a second. It's a resolution. So there's a resolution here for the ICE All-Stars Dynasty, but this is the recognition, and that's what I'm supposed to be reading here. Under approval.
Maybe just read it and then formally do it.
All right. I'm going to read it. We're going to act on it, but we'll act on it under legislation and action items. Okay? All right, sorry, that was a little mistake there. All right, whereas the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, the village is a home rule municipality pursuant to Section 6A, Article V11 of the 1970 Constitution of the State of Illinois, and as such may exercise any power and perform any function pertaining to its government and affairs. And whereas ICE All-Stars Blue Dynasty is a special needs competitive cheer team made up of 17 athletes from the ages of 13 to 35 and 2 coaches and 2 dedicated buddies. And whereas the team proudly represented the United States of America at the International Cheer Union ICU World Championships in April 2024 in the USA Cheer Special Olympics traditional category. And whereas at the ICU World Championship, the ICE All-Stars Blue Dynasty participated in the opening ceremony, a cultural exchange, a showcase, and then competed for 2 days, ultimately winning the silver medal for the United States. Whereas the team also competed the National Cheer Association U.S. All-Star Federation competitions, winning all competitions and becoming the NCAA National Champions, the U.S. All-Star Federal World Champions, and whereas the athletes competed and won the choreography and theme award for both titles, and whereas ICE All-Star Blue Dynasty has completed and presented regular cheer season undefeated, and whereas the village president and the board of trustees recognize the dedication and teamwork, as well as many hours, weeks, and months that these young athletes and their coaches put into choreography, coordination, routines, and practices. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the President and the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, that the Village of Homer Glen recognizes, congratulates, and commends the champion athletes and coaches that make up superstar cheerleading team that is ICE All-Stars Blue Dynasty. We do have certificates for all of you, so I'll call your names up. Can you guys want to assist with this?
Very my most comfortable
My knee is so
All
bad.
right, we'll do the cheerleaders. Thank you. Oh, you're coming up? Oh, good, good.
Last name or first? Looks like first name.
First name. All right, first up, and I'm sorry if I screw up the name, I'm not the best at names. Amber Frangella. Do you want to do those? Hand them to him. So Trustee Stylen is going to present you with your certificate, and Trustee Consolino is going to present you with an American pin flag, or flag pin. Ashley East. Audrey Chisholm. Bethany Gass. She's not here? All right, we'll give it to her. Chloe Hassert. Erin Beecher. Haley LeGrand. Jaden Greiga. Joy Nibbergall. Did I say that right? Or close? How do you say it? Niebergall, all right, there. Kaylin Moley? Mohil? She's not here? Maddie Dillman? Maddie Kaminsky? Mariah Young? She's not here? Oh, this is a hard one. Molly Marchianda? Did I say it right? Yes! She's got, oh, there you go, sorry. Parker Oldendorf? Riley Blackburn? And Sophia Miller. I'd also like to take a minute and recognize the coaches. Head coach Kaylee Pellick. And Sheila O'Riordan. Good to see you. All right, and the buddies. Are the buddies here too?
There are two.
Oh, there's two? Well, I've got 5 here.
Okay, Reese and Morgan Underwater.
Morgan's here? Where's Morgan?
Okay.
Hi, I know you. All right, well, Morgan Underwater. There you go. And Reese Greiga? Yay. There you go. Oh, sorry. Would you guys like to come up and say a few words? Oh, yeah.
Photos.
Oh, sure.
If you want to get in there.
Can I invite the Board of Trustees up to take a photo too once they're done with their group photo first?
Oh, no, that's, we wanted you to.
Oh, you're waiting for us? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get in.
Yes, please.
I'm definitely not a cheerleader.
So, well, you guys are getting ready for the photo op. On behalf of the USA Special Olympics traditional team and Ice Blue Dynasty, we want to thank the Village of Homer Glen and our amazing mayor for recognizing this team. team and their accomplishments. I don't think I have to tell you just what an honor it is for our team to represent the United States of America in an international competition. There were over 124 other countries that were represented in this competition, and everyone had an equal opportunity, especially all of these kids here that work so hard to put an amazing routine on the mat. So as parents, there wasn't a dry eye in the stadium, and just want to say congratulations on their silver medal, and thank you so much for allowing this opportunity to be recognized.
I think they deserve a standing ovation.
No,
but
say something.
you should, yeah.
They're all gone.
I guarantee it will pass, so don't worry about it. You're welcome.
Just ran out the door.
Okay, we are going to move on to amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Obviously, there needs to be one, since who wants to make the first amendment to move E1 under legislation and action items?
I so move.
Trustee Stylin,
I'll
is there?
second that.
What are we moving?
Well, because we couldn't vote under community recognition. We had to move the resolution I just read to,
Oh, E1, okay.
yeah, E1 to L1.
Okay.
So moved? Oh,
Just pick whoever.
oh, sorry.
Everyone was
second.
good with it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Is there any more amendments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Fialko, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approval of minutes, assuming we have none, we're going to move on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Thank you, Mr. Baber. First up, Mr. Mike Carlson. We haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back.
Check, check. All right. I'm just getting ready for Homerfest here.
Your
Mr.
voice
DJ.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sure does. Hey, everybody. I'm Mike Carlson. I just want to say that I had an issue. I had a 13-year-old daughter who decided to sneak out of the house about a month ago. Well, yeah, it's been about a month now. And her other friend snuck out with her too, and the Will County Sheriff's Department spotted her right away at the Myers parking lot. And I just think that people that bash the Will County Sheriff's Department, they better think about it twice, because what they just did to my kid was unbelievable. The sheriff that was in charge of that whole deal didn't let her go home with the other friend's dad. They had to wait until one of us came and picked her up, and I just congratulate the Will County Sheriff's Department for doing such a wonderful job in Homer Glen, and Lieutenant Taylor and his staff have been excellent. So I hear all these rumors about how they don't do this and they don't do that, but I'll tell you what, my kids and I and my whole family feel safe in Will County because of that incident. And I just applaud Lieutenant Taylor for an excellent job on his people that are with him, and listen to him, and how they do the law around here is excellent. And my daughter is, she still don't have a cell phone, so, but I just want to thank the Will County Sheriff's Department for that. What a great job, and I hope everybody can see that and recognize that. You know, if you have little kids, you know, they do sneak out sometimes, and they know ways to get around their camera and shut their 360 off on their phone, so please just be careful, watch your kids. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you. And one of our town favorites, Commander Lou Zemke.
Madam Mayor, trustees, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words tonight. I just want to remind everybody, Memorial Day is coming very soon, and the American Legion Post 2011 of Homer Glen puts on a program every Memorial Day in front of Marion Village to honor the veterans and remember them for what they did for us, so that we could be here tonight and able to conduct business and do the things we want to do. The program will be Monday, May 27th at 10 a.m. in front of Marion Village. Rain or shine, if it rains, we'll move inside. Everyone is welcome. Coffee and cake afterwards. I hope to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. All right, moving on to reports of communication for President and other officers. Village Manager Joe Baber.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and village trustees. First off, I'd like to say most of the light poles have been installed around Heritage Park here. They're still getting wired, but it's good to see the progress that they've made in the last couple of weeks, weather permitting. A stop work order will be getting issued to Homer Township for doing work at their senior housing center without proper permitting. They're lacking some of their contractor registrations, and they proceeded to do the work without our approval, so that'll be issued. I'm working with them to get that rectified. Clark Mosquito will be starting their annual spray applications next month, and again in July, August, June. The applications of the mosquito stuff, I guess, is all weather dependent. Also, our EMA department has obtained a list of all our street lights in the village. They have started to canvass the village for out or damaged lights. That will be turned over to our contractor for the necessary repairs. There are over 700 street lights in the village that they're going to be evaluating. I would also wish the best of luck to two employees leaving the village, Chris Pasquini and Elena Cardabon. Due to different circumstances, they decided to end their employment with the village. I appreciate their time here and again wish them luck. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Baber. Village trustees. Trustee Mason?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I would like to echo the thoughts of the Sheriff's Department and Lieutenant Taylor. They're doing an excellent job to keep us informed. You see the same emails I do. We have no issues lately. In fact, I was just telling a story about 25 minutes ago about crossing from Wilcook Road into Will County, and that we have a no tolerance type policy and that criminals are not welcome. So we do appreciate everything that you do, Lieutenant Taylor. Also, to piggyback off of Lou, yes, Memorial Day is this Monday. I want everyone to please be safe, but also remember those who sacrificed for our ability to be free today. Also, we have OMA certifications that we have to do, and I have two people, and I believe that was Dr. Snow and Dr. Tony Dietlich. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Consolino?
Same sentiments as Mr. Zemke and Trustee Mason. As a proud Marine wife of a combat veteran, I have to respectfully ask that this weekend we all observe and celebrate Memorial Day. Please take the time to remember and honor America's military men and women who have lost their lives in service to our great country. They gave the ultimate sacrifice with laying down their lives for us, for our freedoms, and for the freedoms of other countries as well. Also, along with the Marion Village Post, there's also going to be a ceremony at the Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery in Elwood, and they're going to have a musical prelude, and that will start at 11 a.m. on Monday. In reporting tonight for the Environment Committee, I'd also like to share that our village had a very successful stargazing last Friday night. Weather was perfect, and that really happens lately. Residents were able to enjoy unobstructed views of the stars with special thanks to the Kankakee Area Stargazers, the Naperville Astronomical Association, and the Southwest Astronomy Observers Group. These astronomers from these groups provided their time and free use of their very, very expensive telescopes, all for free. I'd also like to give Animal Quest a shout out for bringing Stella the Sloth, who was a really big hit as well as bringing us a skunk, a ferret, a hedgehog, and a few other cute furry animal friends. We also had a great turnout for this from the community, and so please stay posted as we will have another one coming in the fall. Also, Environment Committee is hosting our 3rd annual spring planting event for kids grade K through 5. We call this our Seedlings event. Registration is still open for anyone who's interested, and the link is available on the village website as well as our social media page. So please register your littles and come help plant herbs at Heritage Park. We will also include seed kits to take home for them to start their own gardens. Our seedling event is taking place this Saturday, the 25th, from 10 a.m. until noon. And that wraps up my report, but I would also like to say thank you to Fran Purveyor and the Homer Glen Junior Women's Club for their assistance both with the Seedlings event and also with Kite Fest, where they handed out the milkweed seeds and for the monarch butterflies, sorry. So this wraps up my report tonight, but I'd like to wish everyone a very happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Consolino. Trustee Fialko?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say that Homerfest is only 5 weeks away. Fireworks, again, are on Thursday, June 27th at dusk, and we have a few surprises that night, almost a couple surprises every night. But what I'd like to do is to say thank you to a couple of our sponsors, and then I'll also talk a little bit about our vendors. But our sponsors make it, I mean, that makes Homerfest successful. When we have our sponsors that give money, it helps it so the taxpayer doesn't end up paying for Homerfest. We break even about, or sometimes we make a little bit of money that's reinvested into the fest, but for the most part, it's a community effort between the sponsors, between the community volunteering, the staff volunteering, and the committee itself. But just to mention a few of our sponsors for this year, all around amusement is the carnival that's there. They provide a huge amount of the success financially that keeps Homerfest going every year. That is one of our partners. We've got Bankston Farm that is one of our partners this year. A champion sponsor is Hawk Chevy and Cadillac. And next into the major sponsors, we have Myers, Culver's, Lakeshore Beverage, Ice Storm Recovery, and then in our grand section, Booth Orthodontics, Chesden's Gas and Wash, Bump and Grind, Lakota Group, and then we also have Bussy Bank. Hold on, I'm looking for one more thing here. And Taz's also. There. So let me go through the grand sponsors one more time. That's Booth Orthodontics, Homewood Disposal, Mugshots, Taz's, and if you haven't had the pistachio chicken at Taz's, you're missing on out on my favorite. Then we've got HR Green, Bump and Grind, and Whitmore Ace, and Bussy Bank. So that covers that. As far as the supporting, we've got Chesden's, Gas and Wash, Bump and Grind, Lakota Group, and that would be it. So again, our success is based on our sponsorship and all the contributions with volunteer time and everything that goes into it. I'd like to once again say, if you go to homerfest.com, you can pull up the whole agenda for the 4 days that we have it. That's Thursday, the 27th of June, the 28th, 29th, and 30th. If you go to the upper right-hand corner, you can hit the drop-down. If you'd like to volunteer, you can do it there. We have a few openings left. But as far as our schedule and everything that's going on, you can find that there. The other thing I'd like to do is also say, have a safe Memorial Day and be safe during that holiday. I was going to say a lot of the things that were already said by the rest of the trustees, but being that that's already been said, please have a safe Memorial Day. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Steinle.
Thank you. I'd just like to add an extra thanks to the staff and the Environment Committee for the stargazing, and the sloth was awesome. I just really like that. And the Kite Fest was really nice, and it was nice to see all the families out there enjoying it. The Community Development Committee met just a few weeks ago, and we're getting excited about a new event that we're planning this year. I've mentioned it, and you'll hear more about it, the Homer Games, which will take place on August 3rd. And we will be needing community members for volunteers for upcoming events. I would like to just encourage the community to go to the website and sign up to be a volunteer for one of our events. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to reiterate as well, Commander Zemke, just let us not forget the men and women, the men and women who sacrificed their lives so that our freedom still remains free. We owe them a great debt of gratitude. As I stated in previous reports, we as a village need grant money funding to help us with our endeavors to provide services and amenities to our parks and our community improvements. Last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to sit in on an OSLED workshop. The workshop outlined what is required and the steps needed to apply and qualify. The Open Space Land Acquisition and Development Recreation Grant Program is comprised of several types of programs, not just grant programs for parks. With this information, our village now can take advantage of the many, many new opportunities that we would be afforded. On Friday, last Friday, we met with, we had our first Zoom meeting with the Lakota group. They are now reviewing all of the input from our board meetings, from our committee, all our committee meetings, and our workshops regarding the revision of Heritage Park. They're hoping to have their revisions within a few weeks for us to just review in its early stage. At this time, we are quite certain that we do not meet the requirements for the, to apply for the OSLED grant for this July. With that said, once we receive the revisions to the Master Plan of Heritage Park, we have, as our committee, decided to draft an RFP for the Veterans Memorial and Pavilion in Heritage Park because this has already been budgeted, so we really don't want to wait another whole year for the Veterans Memorial. So we're going to get going on that as soon as we can. The Admin and Finance Committee will resume meeting June 5th at 2 p.m. All are invited, and we will be meeting in the community room. And that's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. I'm going to circle back to Trustee Fialco. He had asked to speak again.
Thank you for doing that. The other donations that I don't want to overlook is the in-kind donations from Home Depot, Standard Construction, Portable John, BI Rental, and Davidson's. I had missed them on that first round. Do you mind if I just say who our vendors are going to be?
Go ahead.
And to add to that, our vendors this year are Annabelle's Barbecue, Ben's Soft Pretzels, Babaloo's Pizza, Chill's Italian Ice, The Creamery, European Imports Deli, Great American Pizza, Grizz Grub, Joey's Red Hots, KG Specialties, Mucha Salsa, and Pierogi Rig, and Smokin' Z's. Also attending for one day on Sunday will be Nothing But Bundt Cakes, supporting our veterans in that effort, and Kono's Farm also with corn on our fireworks night. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fialco. All right, moving on to the village clerk.
Just wanted to wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial weekend, and also congratulations to the Homer Junior High class of 2024, who will be graduating next Friday.
Thank you. Village Attorney?
Yes. Good evening. Just a couple things to report. We received questions from the Board of Trustees and the various officers regarding the 143rd Street expansion. I think as Mr. Baber pointed out, or brought to everyone's attention last week, what we're doing is we're currently monitoring an ongoing lawsuit. There was a lawsuit that was filed, that case is number 2024 CH00084. That case was filed by the Will County Commissioners against challenging the executive, the president of Will County Board's actions in vetoing the 143rd expansion bill. Presently, that case is filed. It's ongoing. We have reached out to the attorneys of record in that case, and everything's moving forward. There's nothing at this point from our discussions internally here that we need to do on our end to assist with the ongoing litigation. The legal arguments that were raised in those pleadings They're seeking injunctive relief and such, which seems to be an appropriate remedy. So I just wanted to advise everyone here, just to make it public, that that case is ongoing, and the village attorney's office here, we are presently monitoring it for you. Secondly, we have been requested by the Board of Trustees and the government here to file an objection to the ICC's, the Illinois American Water's proposed rate increase to the ICC. That is being filed, it was mailed today. Our appearances will be on record for that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be seeing what means we can use on behalf of the village here of Homer Glen to assert our objections to the current requested rate increases for both wastewater and regular water that Illinois American Water is presently proposing. So that's in the works. I'll have more to update you all within the next couple of weeks. Lastly, thank you. Lastly, and I can share with you too that the village board has been looking at other alternative means in addition to us filing an objection, but right now that is the course that we believe is the prudent course to take, filing our objection and to assert whatever rights we have in that particular proceeding, okay? Lastly, we received notice on May 17th, we received notice from Homer Township that they're claiming that we are in breach of an annexation agreement. As our office, and Peterson Johnson Murray is the village attorney here. I'm just one of the attorneys that work there. But our office has received it, and I've had an opportunity to review it. I'm not going to get into all the substance of the letter that was sent to us, but certainly it goes without saying that we disagree wholeheartedly that we're in breach of that annexation agreement. We are going to be providing the Homer Township with a quick written response, basically disagreeing with their position. I can share with you that there was one specific provision, section 5, they claim that we're in breach of, or that the village is in breach of, requires this village to act upon permits within 15 days of site plan approval. Well, the site plan for Trentina Farms has not been approved, and the reason why it hasn't been approved, there's a myriad of reasons why, from my understanding. But certainly one of them is that it requires a wetlands report. That has not been forthcoming yet. That, and in addition to a whole slew of other matters that need to be resolved. So we plan on sending that letter to Homer Township to put them on notice. They put us on notice, we're putting them on notice that we completely disagree that we're in breach of that agreement. And if they're gonna continue to send us letters that require our office to respond to, we're going to be potentially exploring remedies against them for wasting our time, which it could be a counterclaim in the event this goes to litigation. So time is money. When the village attorney's office has to look into, when your village attorney, Peterson Johnson Murray, has to look into notices and claims, it costs your taxpayers dollars. And you shouldn't have to pay for claims and for money on issues that local units of governments are trying to work out, and that just, from our view of taking a look at it, is just completely incorrect. So we received notice of that, and we will be given a response shortly. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you. Now I know where all the money goes. No, I'm just kidding. I just snorted too. Public safety officials? You heard that, didn't you?
Today was the last day of school for most of the schools in the area, so just please be aware. Children will be out and about. ATV complaints have dropped a little bit, but they're still significant. I'm receiving a lot. So I just want to remind people that it's my zero tolerance policy, not the mayor, not the board, and I'm going to keep that in place all summer until we get this under control. So it's at least $1,000 tickets, which we've written 8 of so far. So, and I assume there'll be more. And then it could be a $350 admin tow and multiple state tickets to the parents and the kid before he even gets a license. So ATVs are way out of hand this year, so we're cracking down harder than normal. So just no more ATVs, because we're going to get you. That's it.
Thank you, Lieutenant Taylor. Okay, so I'm next. Couple things for Memorial Day. Trustee Reiners and Trustee Mason will be speaking at the Memorial Day event at the American Legion at Marion Village. So I'm pretty happy and excited about that for you guys. I wanted to give a special thank you to Joey's Red Hots for donating food to our Special Needs Day for the Homer Fest. Last year they donated to over 300, 400 people last year, which was pretty amazing. They don't have to do that, but they are so kind to do so. And then to Konos Corn Maze for also donating raffle items for they're doing a raffle for if you sign up for Civic Ready, I believe it's Civic Ready. It's where you get alerts from the village. Don't worry, if you're already signed up, you will still get alerts, or you will still get a raffle ticket, and there's 3 big items that they're raffling off. A couple other things I'd like to report on tonight. I know it's been such a positive night and everyone's clapping for each other. Mine's not so friendly, but I did want to wait till today to report this. Now that Parker Hadley Road has been officially transferred over to the village, I want to give a really big thank you to the village staff for really working really hard on the transfer. I know a lot of people like to run around on that victory lap, but you guys really deserve that victory lap. I know the discussions, not only, it started way before March of 23, but I know that the discussions really got down to the details starting in March of 23, and that was before us. That was before this new board kind of took over. And I just want to make it very, I just want to be very clear about how some things went down. I'm getting attacked all over the place saying that we haven't done anything, we're only following suit because other certain people do that, but I wanted to wait till today to really clarify this because I wanted to make sure that everything was signed, sealed, and delivered. So just for everyone's knowledge, a few facts. I became mayor in April 26, 2023, and the new board followed suit. Immediately after, right after May 2nd, we had a town hall meeting regarding a cemetery that took place, which really made us dive into more details of what was going on in the county, which then staff and Trustee Stylen had talked about how can we take over Parker Hadley Road. So it's truly you guys who really initiated that conversation, and that was in June. In July 12th to be exact, is when the emails from residents started coming in about my trees are being tagged, this is happening, what can we do, let's stop that, which then started more conversations where I really got involved and started saying, hey, Melissa, what can we do? Mr. Baber, what can we do? Everybody got involved and said, what can we do? Unfortunately, being in these positions here, we can't divulge all information that we receive for obvious reasons. We have other municipalities trying to get their hands on things and get involved in matters that they have nothing to do with. And at times it makes it harder for us. It puts hurdles in our way, it creates arguments that aren't necessary, but we just have to stay above the fray and keep moving forward and doing what we have to do to protect the residents and do what is set out to be planned for. It wasn't until July 26th, the county had a meeting regarding Parker Hadley Road. Trustee Stylen and 2 employees attended that meeting. And following that, we decided that we were going to take over Parker Hadley Road. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to call it Hadley Parker because that just makes more sense, but Parker Hadley. August 1st, there was an environment meeting regarding it. And then we decided again immediately following that we were going to really take over that road and met with the county and started having discussions on how to start this proceeding. I know that it keeps being stated that we weren't going to do anything until Mr. Balich, Mr. Porfilio, and Carmen Morella came up to this podium and said, we're taking the road. That is absolutely not true. In fact, they didn't come to the board until April 23rd, and we already had it decided in July. In June, we were going to take it, but the initial steps didn't take forth until July. We had the meeting following April 24th, and that's when we started the process. So again, I just want to make that very clear. Just because we're not out there screaming from the rooftops what every little step of the way, this staff really works hard, and I refuse to let any resident, any elected official, anybody that comes to this podium to take credit away from them, I refuse to allow that to happen. So thank you, staff, for working very hard on Parker Hadley Parker Road. With that being said, the attorney kind of took some of the thunder regarding 143rd Street, so thank you for that. But again, you know, you get the people that are saying, we're not doing enough, we're not doing enough. But clearly the attorney is even speaking to 143rd Street. And again, we have to hold our cards tight. We can't let everyone know for the same exact reasons. People keep asking me, why don't we take 143rd? They also don't know what price tag was attached to that. They also don't know all the inner discussions that were taking place. And again, we cannot let everybody know what's going on. I would love to let everybody know. I would love to let all the residents in, but unfortunately, that cannot happen. The parade. Everybody loves a parade, and of course the village wants a parade. And for the record, the parade was stopped because of the internal political antics that were happening. Not because I didn't want political figures in there, not because I wanted different municipalities to stay out of it. The internal workings was too political for this village. And the only way to put a stop to it is to put it in the village's hands. I received a demand letter, which Trustee Reinders and Trustee Mason and Trustee Steinlen were witness to, of a list of a few items, and one of them was to give the parade back to Homer Township. I thought, why not? I've got more important things going on than a parade. There are so many things happening in this village that a parade, it's a celebration. Let's have a parade. Let's work together on having a parade. Some people forget that the definition of working together is when two people or two groups or more come together and negotiate and work on things to make something happen. It's not one-sided. If we were to work together, great, we would have had the parade, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So the village is having their own parade on August 31st, just so everybody knows and is aware, because I know there's some confusion out there when we're having the parade. I also know that I've been asked to give a yearly, an update for our last year. Again, our first meeting was April 26th. I apologize, I haven't given a year update, but I can give you my last week. I could tell you what I did the last week. I received 60 emails in 1 week pertaining to parades, insurance, committees, OMA, state rep emails, complaints of noise and traffic, vegetation, neighborhood arguments, the Ability Awareness Committee volunteers, documentaries, PR firms, parking lots, ring roads, OMA, Homerfest, Parker Hadley, 143rd, ATVs. I just received a numerous amount of ATVs, dirt bikes, mayor caucuses, bank wires, special needs day, career day, which reminds me I went to career day at Reed School the other day. And one of the things that the students asked me was for second and third graders, and it was really surprising to me when a third grader says to me, not just once, not just twice, 3 times, "My mom says you get bullied on Facebook all the time. I never want to be mayor. They say that people beat you up." I was shocked that a third grader would say that to me. And they asked me, how do you handle it? And believe it or not, I get asked that question almost daily. You know how I handle it? I'm not afraid of fictitious people. Because people that have fictitious names hide behind fictitious stories. And if they don't have the mindset to do positive things for their community and want to put hurdles in a leader's way. I'm the mayor of Homer Glen, and if you are intentionally going to put hurdles in my way and in some of the trustees' way to accomplish positive things for a community that needs it and in positive light for our future, a third grader is going to ask me and say, I don't want to ever do that. That's terrible. I never want to hear that again. I'm highly recommending that everybody, again, like I said in one of the first meetings, get on the same boat and start rowing in the same direction. Because for my first year, I was very nice, very kind, very friendly. My second year, I'm going to start rowing in that direction and much harder, and you're going to be left behind. So with that being said, I also want to continue on what I was doing. Not only did I receive 60 emails, I received 83 phone calls from residents. Mr. Baber took about 82 of them for me, right? Thank you, Joe. I appreciate all your hard work on that. Sometimes I feel like a switchboard operator. I delivered poppy cans with Lou Zemke and Jerry Murtis from the American Legion. That was fun. We've got a lot of businesses in town with the poppy cans out in front or in their foyer. I was tagged in 8 Facebook posts and 12 Facebook comments. I did 2 ribbon cuttings and a ground breaking. I handled some issue outside of Jewel that had to do with the Legions, which we'll talk about later. And I did a few other things this week that, you know, just being a mom or, you know, having a regular job or just, you know, living life. So that's 1 week. Multiply that by 52 and that's the year report. I think that's where I'm going to stop for right there because I think I've said enough for today. But we're going to move on into consent agenda. Is there a consider for approval the accounts payable for period of April 30th, 2024 through May 23, 2024 in the amount of $1,043,925.71. Consider for approval the treasurer's report of cash and investments for period ending March 31st, March 31st, 2024 in the amount of $46,289,105.40. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason?
I'll second.
Was that Trustee Stylen? Mm-hmm. Trustee Stylen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to go back to E1. Is there a motion? Oh, sorry.
May I just add something to our conversation that we just had? Normally you don't debate when it comes to the consent agenda, but I just want to point out something in our financials, even though $1,043,000.
Trustee Fialko, I'm going to have to move to the attorney for a second. Is he allowed to discuss anything on consent?
You recognize him, you can.
Oh, okay.
It's up to you.
I was asking the attorney, but yes, okay.
Even though in our expense report for this month, we have $1,443,925.71. When I was involved with A&F, I always made sure this number was available. The village is now, it has gone up a little bit to in our coffer, we have $46,289,105. And the only way we do that is by being fiscally responsible. That's all I wanted to convey.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, Trustee Fialko.
And 40 cents.
Don't forget that 40 cents. Okay, we're going to move back to E1, which was, is there a motion to approve Resolution 24-008, recognizing the accomplishments of ACE All-Stars Blue Dynasty?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders? Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Stylen? Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Nothing.
Trustee Consolino? I think that team is great. I'm proud to recognize them. They work very hard. I know 2 of the members are from Homer Glen, and I know some of the coaches are, and I hope they keep winning so we can recognize them every year. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
All right, legislation and action items. I'm going to have a hard time with this word, I already know it. Consider for approval a proclamation declaring May as
Amyotrophic.
amyotrophic?
Trophic lateral sclerosis.
Amyotrophic. Wow. Lateral sclerosis, ALS, Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen. Is there a motion? Trustee Consolino? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I'm going to read the proclamation. Dan, did you want to read this proclamation since you're good friends with McMichael? Trustee Fialko, I'm sorry, did I call you Dan? I have it.
And I got you now. Sure, I would be happy to do that. A proclamation declaring the month of May as Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness Month 2024. Whereas the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, known by many as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain loses connection with the muscles, slowly taking away their ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. And whereas every 90 minutes someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas on average patients diagnosed with ALS only survive 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis, and whereas ALS has no cure. People who have served in the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than those with no history of military service. And securing access to new therapies, durable medical equipment, and communication technologies is of vital importance to people living with ALS. And clinical trials play a pivotal role
in evaluating new treatments, enhancing quality of life, and fostering assistive technologies for those living with ALS. And we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Ice Bucket Challenge through a renewed commitment to galvanize public awareness and support funding, leading to significant investments in ALS research. And the ALS Association, as the largest philanthropic fundraiser of ALS research globally, has committed over $154 million to support more than 550 projects across the United States and 18 other countries. And our commitment to accelerating the pace of discovery remains unwavering, fueled by the hope that one day ALS will be a livable disease for everyone, everywhere, until we can cure it. ALS Awareness Month increases the public's awareness of people with ALS's dire circumstances and acknowledges the terrible impact this disease has, not only on the person, but on his or her family and the community, and recognizes the research being done to eradicate this disease. Therefore, the mayor, you want to say that?
No, you.
The mayor,
You can say you.
Nicely Troiki, do by here, and proclaim the month of May 2024 as ALS Awareness Month. And she calls upon all Americans to join the ALS research, advocating for increased funding and standing in solidarity with those affected by this relentless disease. And how we just started off was there's a lot of families in our community that suffer with this, and what we had said and what we had done with the proclamation before is everybody knows Steve McMichael from the Chicago Bears has ALS, and we've addressed that here before. So.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. I forgot who made the motion, but Trustee Silent, do you have anything to add? Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Reiner? No. Nope. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can we make sure that Ms. McMichael gets a copy of the proclamation? Thank you. All right, moving on to number L2. Consider for approval a proclamation designating May 19th to May 25th, 2024 as Public Works Week. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko?
So moved. Second.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Reinders, would you mind reading the proclamation?
No, I would be honored to. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the Village of Homer Glen. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, drainage systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders in the Village of Homer Glen to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest in understanding of the importance of public works and public work programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen do hereby designate the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week in the Village of Homer Glen. Be it further resolved that we urge all citizens to join with us in recognizing the substantial contributions our Public Works Department makes in protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. Approved and adopted this 22nd day of May, 2024.
Oh, thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialko, do you have anything to add?
I'd almost like to see if the Public Works Director, Mr. Woods, would be able to take his crew out to lunch for that being Public Works Day or Public Works Week. So I don't know if this board can just do a consent.
Well, I think he has an expense he can spend.
He can? Okay,
He has the
great.
authority to spend, take him out for lunch.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders, for reading that. And we do, actually, the 3 years that I've been here for it, I've had a barbecue for them on the last day, which is this Friday, and I sponsor barbecue with them where I actually do the cooking for them. I serve them because they spend the whole year serving us.
Are we invited?
I've cooked 2 there before with them. Yes, I did. Believe it or not, Trustee Reinders, I did it. I did it.
Yeah. So we do that, but thank you very much.
Trustee Reinders, did you have anything else to add?
No.
Trustee Cancelino? No. Trustee Mason?
No, Public Works does a great job. You guys are very quick. I called you yesterday because a precinct captain got a hold of me, and you resolved that issue within a short time period. And he stopped by my house today and thanked me personally for your assistance.
Trustee Stylen?
Just that I appreciate all of the employees over there. Thank you very much.
Ditto. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is consider for approval the mayor's appointment of Teresa Casanda to the Ability Awareness Committee. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am. I'm sure Teresa does a good job, or you wouldn't be recommending her.
That's right. Trustee Reinders?
No, I read her, what she had said here about working with these different organizations. I think should be an asset.
Trustee Fialko?
Nothing for me.
Trustee Cancelino?
It sounds like she'd be a great asset.
Trustee Stylen?
Nope, agree.
She was the resident who did the birthday boxes, and she already came to the meeting, and she's already moving forward. She got us volunteers for the dunk tank. Her and Susie O'Connor worked really hard on getting us volunteers. I even think Craig Shoppy is going to be in the dunk tank, believe it or not. Should get a whole row of students, maybe some adults. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Number 4, consider for approval an ordinance granting a variance to permit a mix of brick and fiber cement siding materials on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standard 75-67A, applicably a scope, type of building or structure of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the R2 Single Family Residential District at 12020 Rambling Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason? Trustee Reinders?
You know what, I think this is, I looked at it, and actually, if you look around the village, you're seeing more and more of this type of style with the hard, actually, it's cement board. I love the look, and it's the trend, so I have no problem with it.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Mason?
Yes, I think it's a beautiful home. I've looked at the houses in the area, and this may end up one of the even more prettier houses than are already there. I think we've allowed variances for this type before, and I think it's going to be beautiful.
Thank you. I'm going to circle back to Trustee Reinders real fast.
The one thing I was confused about was if they were going to tear down the structure, or are they just going to remodel it?
I thought they were remodeling.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was, because they keep talking, they refer to it as new residence.
They do say new single-family home.
Yeah, they do,
Don't know
that's,
if
yeah.
I can't say for sure if there's an existing home on the site that's going to be demolished.
Okay, because I know exactly where it is, and it's a very old home. So
does that make a difference?
No, it doesn't make a difference at all.
There's a lot of old homes in that area, and this
Yes.
thing is going to look beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's and the materials are quality materials.
Okay. Trustee Fialko?
Yes, this is something we've done many times before, and I support it. Thank you.
Trustee Cancelino?
No, the houses that have done the same thing in comparison look really nice. I think it complements. Also, I believe that it's a cheaper alternative for upgrading, so I'm in complete support of it.
Trustee Stylen?
Just agree with everyone else.
Now that Trustee Reinders brought that up, I was under the impression that it was a remodel, not a new building. So the only concern I have is if it is a new building, do we have anything saying they're going to tear down the old one? Does that mean there's 2 properties on the road, on the same?
does say it's a new resident.
It's a new resident, but
I saw. Yeah, I didn't see anything about remodel.
I guess I just assumed.
A remodel necessarily wouldn't have to go through this process. It was a remodel.
But if they were using different materials?
Yeah, I thought they would.
Not necessarily, no.
No?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're right, because it would just be new build.
It would just be a different type of siding on an existing home.
True.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 5, consider for approval a professional services agreement with HR Green for plots of conveyance and easement for the village's 151st Street project for a not-to-exceed fee, $19,500. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders? I'm going to point to the attorney first because he did bring up a point that I would like to.
We have not reviewed this professional services agreement, so I would recommend that someone make a motion to amend to allow, subject to the review of the village attorney.
You're getting ahead of me, but fantastic. I tried to contact Mr. Westcott today. He is on vacation, and that's unfortunate because I wanted to disturb it a little bit. No, I'm kidding. So I would make a motion at this point to table it.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Table or upon attorney review?
The motion's to table, right?
Okay.
So just a table.
So,
Okay.
do you want to table, or do you want to?
Well, that would give
Do
you
you guys-
sufficient
okay,
time to review it.
Trustee Stylen, do you have anything to discuss regarding tabling?
No, I'm in agreement.
You're okay with tabling?
Yes.
I'm
You
fine.
okay with tabling? Trustee Fialko already said?
Yes.
Trustee Consolino, okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the tabling.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries to table. Number 6, consider for approval Resolution 24-009, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the County of Will for maintenance and energy or traffic signals at the intersection of Bell Road, County Highway 16, and Founder's Crossing. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko?
I'll second.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Fialko?
Our former agreements have expired. All this is doing is reigniting the agreement, the IGA with Will County, to keep on doing what they've done in the past.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino?
I have a question for the attorney, Mayor.
Sure.
Has the firm been able to review this yet with the IGA?
No, ma'am.
That might be a good idea,
You have not reviewed it
because
yet?
this is with Will County.
No, I have not. Our firm has not.
It's up to you guys to table it.
I know, but I'm just
Yeah,
just
no,
asking,
good-
because this is a big project.
This is an ongoing, if I may, Mayor?
Yeah, just,
This is an ongoing continuation of a maintenance agreement that was done back in 2004. At that time, it was reviewed by our attorneys at that time. It's just a renewal of that current agreement. If the board so wishes, we could have our current law firm review these documents as well, but it was reviewed back in 2004 by our legal at that time.
And may I say something?
yeah. Trustee Consolino, were you done?
No, considering that it was 20 years ago, yeah, I definitely would rather, if you could review it, please, thank you.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mason, do you have anything?
I agree with both Trustee Consolino and Fialko. I know we need a renewal, but it is 20 years ago. So how long does this last for at this point? That's the piece I don't know. Because if it's another 20 years, we may have an issue if something's obsolete.
Joe, can you answer that? Or is this? While Joe's looking for that, Trustee Stylen, did you have anything?
No, I just had a question. I saw that it was Gallagher and Henry is one of the partners in it. Is that like normal that that's like all the time? Okay. All right. So that would be that. So then if it's the review.
No answer.
All right.
Trustee Reinders, did you have anything to add?
I think we definitely should table this for review. All of our IGAs that have been done in the past should really be reviewed.
Admin and finance.
Here we go.
Trustee Fialko?
I agree. Maybe this would be one thing to bring back to A&F for the first time too. But the other thing is, there is no budget implication either. So, I mean, this is a perennial thing. It's kind of like our stuff with our computers and our cameras out in the parking lot, but it can't hurt to review.
And the only reason I say that is because what if something is so obsolete at this point that, you know, it should be brought up to date? And we probably should run it through A&F.
So I will make a motion to table L6.
Trustee Fialko, Trustee Consolino, you second.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Plus two, could you ask Mr. Woods, I believe we still have some time because there's a whole hang-up with NICOR still along. Don't we still have a hang-up going on with
Bell Road.
Bell Road and everything
NICOR.
going on with NICOR? So there's a little bit
some
of
time.
Yep.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the table. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. I just want to point out the next one is the same thing. So is there, we're going to make them, it's up to you guys.
We'll teach
Wait, I
Mr.
gotta
Westcott
read
to
it.
go on vacation.
Consider for approval Resolution 24-10, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the County of Will for maintenance and energy of traffic signals at the intersection of Bell Road, County Highway 16, and Martingale Lane.
I'll make the motion to table.
Is there a second to
I'll
table?
second.
Trustee Reinders, any more discussion? Review? Yes.
I have a
Trustee
question.
Stylen?
So if we win this, what happens if there's something that goes wrong and we don't have an agreement for maintenance?
That's a great question. Attorney?
They would continue the services. There's nothing right now that's immediate.
Under the
Okay.
agreement.
Right.
All right.
We've talked to Will County about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on tabling.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko? Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, number 8. So the motion on the agenda is different than the motion on the supplement sheet. So I'm going to read the one on the supplement sheet instead. Motion for consideration. Is there a motion to approve one of the 3 quotes for the purchase, oh, it's the same one, of Gator utility vehicle? I thought we selected one in the motion. Is there a motion to select one of the 3? You can make the motion to say which one of the 3.
I'll make the motion.
To select one of the 3 or which one specifically?
AHW in Mantino.
So you're making the motion to accept AHW Mantino?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a second to accept that? Hearing no second, the motion will fail. Is there a motion to approve one of the 3 quotes for purchase of Gator utility vehicle?
I'll make that motion.
To accept one of the 3 or pick one?
You want it, Ro?
Yeah, I'll pick it. Sure, I would prefer to go with Shorewood Home and Auto and Homer Glen.
Thank you, Ro.
They are local, and I would prefer to give them, I know that it's pennies, and it's not that much money.
I will second that.
For which one? Are you done speaking?
No.
Trustee Reinders, can you want to continue?
Yes, yes. So therefore, even though I know that's a little bit more money, I would still prefer to go with a local vendor.
Trustee Fialko second that. All right.
Yes.
So the motion is Shorewood. All right. Trustee Fialko, do you have anything to say?
No, I know we are working with Shorewood right now. We have an issue with 2 of our lawnmowers that we're working on. The owner of Shorewood is somebody who pays taxes in this community and gives back to our village when they can. So even though the cost of the Gator from Shorewood is a little more expensive, we as the board have the option to still pick somebody that is right here in our community and paying taxes to Homer Glen. So that's why I suggested we go with Shorewood.
Okay. Trustee Stylen?
I totally disagree with both. I think we should go with the carryall. It's the lower priced item. It's, I don't see any reason we have the problem with the mowers that we just got that were John Deere that have replacement problems. So I don't see why we would go with a higher priced item. And I don't care if it's a local business. If the price is close, I would go with the local business. But I think they should be giving us a better price. So I am disagreeing.
Trustee Mason?
Yes, ma'am. I actually stopped by Shorewood and had a conversation there and brought up that exact scenario that Trustee Stylen states. I did not talk to the owner, but I did talk to one of the service techs, and he wasn't even aware that we had issues. And then he didn't know about the repairs. And then he told me he has many municipalities that he needs to take care of. And then I stated that, well, you're based here, and we try to give you our business. And he said, yeah, I get that, but I'm not John Deere. And I said, okay, that's fine, I get that too, but you would think your purchasing power, you might get a little pull for the village since we try to use you. It wasn't going well, so I know we're always pushing Shorewood and somebody that's here, but I also talked to Director Woods, and the biggest bang for our buck was the AHW, which is giving us exactly what Shorewood is for $200 or $250 less, I believe, yeah, about $250 less than Shorewood was doing and had the same amenities. That's why I said that. I don't want to say that I'm not allegiant to Homer. I absolutely am, and to their businesses, but I also mentioned to this gentleman that it's costing us $46,000 something right now, because we're not going to have our mowers working until June or July, and we're paying $46,000 for mowers we bought from them last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Consolino? You have nothing? I'm going to go for 1 second. Mr. Woods, did you have a recommendation on which one? Your microphone, I don't think worked the last time you spoke, but try it again. There it goes.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the one we would like is the Gator, the club car. The reason we didn't have 3 Gator quotes on here is because these are all through the Sourcewell contract, which is one of the cooperatives we're a member of. And generally, anybody that goes through that is going to be identical in price. AHW knocked a few bucks off of theirs to be competitive. They took it off their end, not on the John Deere end. Now the club car quote, I had contacted Club Car to ask him, this is an old quote, he said it's still valid. But when I had contacted him, because we had changed the features on it, I wanted him to update his quote with the new features, and he has not responded yet. So I went to their website, I applied the discounts that we get, and I added the features from there, and it gave me a total price, and it would have put it at about $16,100 for the club car with the additional items added to it. We would prefer to have one of the Gators, and I understand we've had the bad luck with the John Deere lawnmowers. John Deere is the premier in tractors and UTVs. They're not so great with mowers. Toro's a much better company with the mowers, but for tractors and UTVs, they're a much better company.
Thank you.
So in terms of which store you get it from, that's up to you guys. I would just.
But you prefer the Gator?
The Gator, yes.
Which comes from?
Both Shorewood and AHW.
And AHW, okay. So the only comments I have is, I do like to shop local. I think it's important for our town. I do not like the fact that we did just purchase mowers and they're not working and it's costing us a lot of money. And I also think because they are local, they know that they don't really have to give us discounts because we're always pushing local. So it is nice to once in a while, get the cheaper price from our local businesses. I mean, every other business does, help us out. They should help us out too. My vote would obviously be, since you like I don't get a vote because there's no tie and I don't get to vote on much, but mine would be the Mantino one if they're the one that you prefer over the club car since you like the Gator. Trustee Fielgo, I think you had something that you wanted to add?
Trustee Mason and I had this conversation this afternoon, and I'm sorry, with the person he talked to, the maintenance person that writes up tickets, I gave him the name of the owner who he should speak with, and I think that things may have gone a little bit differently. Just like with any business, you talk to the right person, you get the right answers, right? So my recommendation is still to go with Shorewood because they are a local business and they pay taxes to our community.
Trustee Reinders? Going back around twice.
No, I have nothing else.
Trustee Consolino? Nope. Trustee Stylen?
Well, thank you for the explanation on the other club car. Yeah, I think I would go with for that amount. It's just a $250 difference, and we'll get some of well, we don't pay taxes we don't pay sales tax on it. It's just, I just feel like we're telling our businesses that you can charge us more, just because you're going to get the business, and I just don't like that. So I could go either way, so I guess I could support Trustee Fialko.
Trustee Mason?
It was a sales manager I talked to and a operations guy. Not a problem. We'll do what we got to do, but it'll give me something to scream about this time next year, I guess.
I would just ask Mr. Baber if you could just follow up with them to make sure that we do have a ticket on repair, which I'm sure we do, but just maybe he didn't know, and just get a time frame and what's going on. And
We will do that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please. Trustee Fialko?
Well, you just asked about a ticket. Brentwood, I've had this
I didn't ask about it. I said I'm sure we have one.
Right. Well, you said to make sure. So all I'm saying is Brentwood.
For Kurt's sake.
We've had that conversation. He's got the batteries disconnected. As far as I know, they're still here on our property, and they're waiting for John Deere Corporate to solve the problem. So the wheels are in motion.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Do you have to like?
Oh, yeah. So Trustee Fialko made the motion to approve Shorewood Home and Auto at the quote of $16,176.92.
Okay. Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
No.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye. Okay, moving on to number 9. Consider for approval a motion to authorize the release of requests for proposal, RFP, for the purpose of providing design plans, equipment, and installation for a playground at the Villas of Old Oak subdivision. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'm going to give it to Trustee Reinders since she's the chair of the Parks Committee, and then Trustee Fialko.
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders?
Okay, so this is an RFP that is going out. We're really excited about this because we should be getting possession of the land at Old Oak very soon if we've not already got it. I think because Brent Westcott is on vacation, we haven't really gotten it yet. But we were advised by our attorneys that we could move forward with the RFP and get that in place so that when the time comes that we can actually start moving forward with the park. So I know the residents are going to be so excited about this. We're all excited. We've got some new ideas for some new parks, so we're hoping that the people that actually bid on this are going to be the ones that are going to be able to meet our vision. So we're excited about it. So I totally approve of this.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialko?
Yes. I know we have to get the wheels in motion to get this started, but also there's some other things that go along with that. And it's covered under Section 138-4 under our land dedication and having our, basically the deed to move forward with that property. The thing is, what I would recommend, and maybe we could ask council, is that we move forward with it, but we do not pay, don't accept any bid, I guess, is what it comes down to, or the monies that would, the request for request for proposal would get us that information, but at that point, I don't think that we should spend any money on it unless we have the approval with the PUD for that property and Section 138-4 has been taken care of. That would, and that if council can help out on that, that'd be great.
Go ahead.
I
know you're probably unfamiliar with this.
I'm
since you
not
don't review
familiar
RFPs.
with the PUD in the dedication of any land that's pending in the existing PUD.
I'm coming to you
village.
guys. So I was going to, do you mind, Trustee Fialko, if I refer to Trustee? Trustee. Everyone's a trustee in my mind. Melissa King and Jennifer Fattori, since you guys are
Sure, I can clarify a couple things, Madam Mayor. The PUD ordinance that approved the subdivision required, let me back up. The plat of subdivision for this dedicated the land to the village, so the land, I think, technically has been conveyed to the village, but we also conditioned the ordinance with an approval for acceptance of the park, so the village has to accept the park. Officially, the seed had to come in for germination, the landscape plans have to be approved, there has to be topography and as-built approved by Brett, which has not been approved yet. So those steps have to be taken, checked off the list, and presented to the board for acceptance of the park, right? So I think, and you can verify, I believe that the land can be conveyed via the plat, but the village has not formally accepted it yet. Right. The code also indicates in 138-4 that we would require a warranty deed, I think, or a trustee's deed is what the code says, at time of park acceptance. So even though we've not, I think legally we can take it with just the plat, but I think that the village should, I guess the board needs to decide if we really want to have a deed also. I would recommend that we do. We've actually just heard recently about grant applications that we probably need deeds to apply for grants, which makes it cleaner. So even though it might be not necessarily a legal thing, because we've conveyed it on a plat, it might be good to have the deed anyways. So, and I believe we talked a little bit in the hallway out here about that this could move forward even though we hadn't accepted the park yet, but that we could just move forward with the condition that we would not, I guess, accept a bid until we accepted the park. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make an amendment to this motion then, to accept this as is, to move forward, but not to accept the payment for the bid, or the bid for payment.
So trustee Reiner's made the motion. Does she have to amend?
Yes.
Yeah, wouldn't a bid come before us anyways?
Yeah, the bid is going to come before us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we wouldn't accept anything. We're just accepting to put out an RFP.
That's all we're doing is putting out the RFP.
I get what you're saying, but the bid would have to come back in front of us anyway.
Mike, is that?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
The bid would have to come before you.
So we'll leave it as is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I'm for moving forward with it.
Attorney?
Yes, I think it might be prudent to add in the RFP that we have yet to accept the dedication, so that the parties that are responding to the RFP are aware that we don't currently own, that we don't have title to the property yet, but we will soon have title to it. Or we don't have the physical, we have yet to accept. The community development director was correct. You don't necessarily have to have a trustee's deed or a deed in hand in order to have actual title to property that's been dedicated on a plat. However, you need to have express acceptance either way, whether it's conveyed or whether a trustee's deed is used or whether it's conveyed via a plat, you need to have express acceptance. And here, the ordinance that authorized this PUD, from what the community development director has shared, made acceptance contingent upon a myriad of things that have yet to come to fruition. So it'd be prudent to make, I would suggest adding in the actual RFP that the village has yet to accept the property to which this park relates, or this RFP relates.
Thank you. Trustee Stylen? I'm going to go back to you since you're in the middle of your comment.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how long do we think that process is to?
I think it's already in the process.
It is.
Would you like to answer? Yes, Ms. King.
So I'd like to
Ms.
make
King,
the motion.
Can Melissa finish her statement?
Sure.
I'm going to ask Melissa to finish her statement.
Please.
I can just give you a brief update. Jennifer Vittori and myself did a landscape inspection in the fall on generally just the trees. And then this spring, we also did one on the grass germination as well as the trees. We've got a few things in the punch list with the grass. There was some grass not germinating. It's been reseeded and it's coming in well, I think. And then the as-built has not been submitted. We were under the impression we were going to have it maybe last week, and it's just not come in. I don't think the review on that will take very long, so I don't anticipate this will taking much longer. Not fall, for sure. I think it's probably a month, maybe, as long as we get a response from them. So.
Okay, thank you, Melissa King. I'm going to go back to Sue since it was still her time on the floor.
Yeah, because the deadline for this RFP is July 18th, so that's, I think, plenty of time for the whole process to work out.
Are you done, Trustee Stylen? Trustee Mason?
I agree that we need, with Trustee Fiocco, that we need to make sure we have the deeds, because there's been so many issues with us having parks without deeds. I also agree with legal that we should probably change this to read that it's in contingent of being accepted. But I think, and I talked with Trustee Reinders, when we have subdivisions that go up,
As soon as I go around the table.
when we have subdivisions that go up in the future, I think we need to, as this board anyway, look at talking to those builders about, instead of us putting out the money and the taxpayers putting out the money, that maybe the builder, when he dedicates the land, should put in a park himself. Thank you.
Trustee Cancelino?
Okay. I did speak to staff, and I'm still very uncomfortable about spending any money on parkland that is not deeded. This is a big problem I want to address in the village. I'm not going to start arguing about stuff. I do want to see the park get built. I understand about the RFP. That's what I spoke to staff about. I'm willing to concede on that if we are definitely going to pursue getting grant funding immediately for this, because, you know, I'm looking at Parks budget is, for this project is, you know, $250,000. I would rather not spend $250,000. We just spent $880,000 on property. Revenue is down from what I've heard recently for the village. So, in being prudent, being judicious, I'm asking that we please immediately, once we get the RFP, go and get the grant funding, which I understand we have until fall to pursue, see how much we can get, and then I would also like to revisit the budgeted amount, okay?
Are you done? I'm sorry.
Mike.
Well,
sorry.
Are you done?
Yes.
All right, I actually agree with Trustee Cancelino. I didn't like the fact that we spent money on parks that we did not have deeds in hand, no fault to anybody here, but I did not like that. It left a bad feeling, so that's why we're all a little hesitant right now. I do agree that once we have it in hand, I'd like to immediately move on grants, and even if we could start looking into grants now, but
Can't do it
Attorney,
unless we-
I mean, at least get the ball rolling in some avenue.
Since we're on the topic, 100%, we recommend that any dedication of public use property is done via a deed. And as the Office of the Village Attorney, we would 100% recommend that that's the absolute best way to handle dedication so that there's no issues going forward in the future. It's of record, there's no question, and so on.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
Okay, a couple things. One of the things that Melissa and I know Melissa has been speaking back and forth with Jim from Marth Construction. They have been very willing to help us in any way, shape, or form to get this paperwork done. They're trying to expedite everything. The minute Melissa says one thing to him, he's working on it. He's very diligent. They did convey the land to us. And yes, we do need to get a deed. And the reason being is, after attending this workshop with the OSLED grant, there's no way in hell that we are going to meet that we are going to meet,
where were you on that one?
that we are going to meet a deadline of this fall for an OSLED grant. One of the things that we did find out in this workshop was that, number one, we have to have a deed to any single thing that we would like to apply for a grant. Number two was that we have to have a capital project, a 5-year future project plan of what we are and how this grant is going to affect the future of the areas in which we're going to be requesting for. The other thing was our comprehensive plan. They said that they couldn't stress it enough. The comprehensive plan came up several times in the workshop, saying that they would take off points for us not having a comprehensive plan. They said that it was very, very important. So these were the three things. And so this village has some work to do before we could even apply for an OSLED grant. So that's why we would not be able to apply for this. Now, I know that Jen Vittori has already budgeted the money for this park, but all we're doing is just waiting for them to hand the park over to us. They've been very, very easy to work with, Marth Construction. And again, in the future, one of the things that at the Parks Committee, what we are on our level, we are looking at is what is going to be the difference between either them handing us over the land or them handing us a park. So when they hand us the land, we have a little bit more control over what kind of a park we put there. So that's the reason why we have that ordinance. So that's the story. So hopefully within, and I know Brett Westcott was working on this diligently before he left for vacation, and he was hoping he was going to have it before vacation, because this is a conversation that we've already brought up with Marth. So that's all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Fialko?
Well, being that there's been a lot of conversation since we first got started, the recommendation from legal, if you could ask him one more time the way he'd like it phrased, so we can move forward with the RFP, but not be bound by anything.
Correct.
Right.
Just say that, put in the if there would be a motion to amend the RFP to state that the city has yet, or that the village has yet to accept the dedication. And that would be the phraseology, that would be proper terms to put in the RFP, so that any party that's responding to the RFP is apprised that we're not yet the owner, the title holder of the property.
I'd like to make that motion based on the wordsmithing that our legal counsel has given us.
I was writing it down.
I'll second the motion that we go ahead and change that language to read as legal counsel states.
Okay, so is that a superseding motion of the original motion by Trustee Reiners and Trustee Fialko? Okay. Is there any more discussion on the new motion?
So,
Trustee Cancelino?
no, well, in light of that information, so Trustee Reiters, you don't feel that we're going to be able to get the grant at all with this, correct?
No.
Then that affects my vote.
Oh. Ooh.
Right.
Does anybody have any more conversation then after that one?
No, I think Trustee Reiners laid it out well, and thank you for being very honest, up front, and open. And I think this is something that happened pretty much prior. So what I'm suggesting is what legal and what Trustee Fialko states and what we have discussed as a board, which is, and I know you'd like to just get land, but I'd like to get land with a park. So I think we need to look at that as we move forward. I know that Melissa King and Jennifer Victoria have done their due diligence, and this will be probably the last one that I will vote aye on, unless we have better negotiation skills, and I don't mind being the negotiator if we need to.
Well, I'm a little nervous about Trustee Cancelino and Trustee Reiner's concern. If we continue with the motion that you and Trustee Fialko just superseded Trustee Reiners with, you don't think we'll get the grant, is what you're saying?
But we were never going to apply for a grant for this park. So we were never going to apply for a grant. This was already budgeted through the park's budget. It's been on the books.
Okay, got it. But grants are always good to have, too.
No, I know.
But all right, you guys vote? Yes.
Would you ask staff if we could pursue looking at grants still?
May I?
Well, Melissa's about to answer.
I don't know, but I'm sure that myself and Gia and our grant writer could look and see if there's other things. I don't know.
I would appreciate that.
I think due to the fact that Trustee Reiner stated. Right. No, and I don't mind looking, and I don't mind reaching out and, taking a grant for whatever we can, believe me. But I think you're being open and honest and upfront because of the reasons you stated. We're not going to get it for this.
Would anybody entertain a motion to table just to the next meeting so we can move forward to see what the...
Could you talk to let Jennifer talk, please?
So like Rosie said, we had the OSLED meeting last week. So we decided, that there are no park funds in that one. We can't go over that one. There are other grants we can pursue. With that said, we still have to have the RFP out with these designs so we can apply for a grant.
Yes.
We have to have these designs. Otherwise, we can't just apply for a grant without these designs.
Thank you, Jennifer. So the motion's on the table, the superseding motion with the wordsmithing of the attorney. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Steilen?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, number 10.
Want to go back to the main motion?
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry, you're right. Is there a motion to approve the motion as amended?
So moved.
Trustee Cancelo.
Second.
Trustee Reiners. Is there any more discussion? No. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino?
Abstain.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 10, consider for approval the amended Mayor and Village Board Standard Operating Procedure number 001 to reflect the changes relating to standing committees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reiners.
I'll second.
Trustee Mason. Trustee Reiners.
Okay. So if you could see that there are a lot of changes that are on here for a lot of the committees, and I would just hope that this board can discuss the changes that we foresee on here, and everybody give a little bit of their input for their own committee to move forward with this, so that Gina can put this to rest.
So would you like to go by committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want me to go one by one to start it off and then go around the table? What did
Yes.
Trustee Consolino mark that Trustee Consolino left the room at 8:06? Okay. Oh, 8:05. Okay. So the first one is Mayor Direct to Board. Is everybody okay? I mean, I'm not going to read every single one. Does anybody have any concerns on that one? Okay, next we're going to go to Ability Awareness Committee, which I'm the chairman of. I did review this with the committee, and they are completely good with this. Anybody have any concerns? Okay, Admin and Finance Committee. Since we brought this one back, I did have some concerns, which I did talk to Trustee Stylen and Trustee Reiners with, which you both agreed with me upon. If you look at the rest of the committees, they all are recommending bodies, and majority of them say explore, review, recommend, and they use that terminology. For this one, I do understand that we did change it from the mayor and 3 trustees to the 4 trustees, because if I attended this meeting, it would be not then the 3rd time I would hear the same information, and it would be so redundant. So the only recommendation that I make is that we add the words of recommend, consider, and or review at different, in different areas. So, for example, review appropriation ordinances, recommend and review contractual employee contracts, review construction contracts, review dues requests, and so forth. Because you guys aren't making the official decision in that meeting, even though there is majority of you, it still would be nice for the rest of the board to have their opinion in it, and also mine. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with my comments?
I've talked with all the trustees and yourself, and I think you and I discussed that in length, that yes, we need to change that to and/or review.
Okay. Gina, you got note of that? Okay. All right, so, and then you could see the stricken parts, the red ones. Joe, did you have something to add?
Is it review and recommend then coming out of that committee, correct?
Yeah, because it's, I mean, obviously the word recommend
review.
wouldn't work in front of some sentences and review would. So I mean, wherever review and recommend, or just review and recommend wherever so fits, right?
I have a picture, I can send it to you.
Well, every committee recommends.
Yeah.
And you have to review to recommend. So I mean, every committee recommends, so review and recommend all of the following, I guess, would work.
Depending on the flow and the topic.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. And consider, I mean, there's...
There, perfect.
All right. So then you could, to page, oh, there's no page numbers on this.
Page
Well, on the
number.
next page where there's a strike, ordinance changes recommended from staff dealing with community development. That was stricken. Trustee Reiners, you had pointed out that was stricken, and we added ordinance review, which is, you know, kind of the same thing in there. There was also stricken for Village and Will County sponsored household hazardous waste collection event, which had an asterisk at the end because it is with another committee anyways, which I believe it's with Environment Committee anyways. So we just took that out because that really doesn't have to do with A&F. And the Environment Committee does a great job with that stuff. The next one is also pertaining to environment, village electronic drop-off and paper shredding recycling event. Again, that's kind of like a standard event that we do within the village anyways, and again, the Environment Committee does great on that. I did have one concern with the village website issues. I think it should stay in there, and it has an asterisk as well. I feel like sometimes, though, when this community started in 2001, as Trustee Stylen stated many of times, this village kind of operated on volunteers. And now we're 23 years old. I mean, things that our committees do, I mean, is kind of starting to overstep our employees' jobs and responsibilities. And I really, really want to get away from that. We hire employees to do a job, and the trustees have a job. I think we're starting to kind of, you know, teeter the line there with certain things. So, village website and issues, when you say issues, what kind of issue are you referring to? Or are you talking about design and so forth? That would be more of our communications and inner house.
Right.
That's just one of my concerns with that. I mean, I know it's admin and finance, but that's really not admin. You guys want to leave it in there? Unless you're talking about updating website on your committee, then I can see that, but this is admin and finance.
We would still bring that in front of you to ask. It would be a
would.
recommendation.
But it's everything. Everything's brought before the board, right? I just think we got to be careful with what we do with staff, and we don't step on their toes. And you guys can leave it, or you could strike it, whatever you so choose.
We could strike it. I agree with you, Madam Mayor. I don't think we need to be stepping on their toes.
Yeah, I believe that should be communications.
So what I'm going to do is, as we go, we're going to make amendments all at once. Is that okay? Can we do like, so we have to do amendment for each one and vote? Okay. So Trustee Consolino, are you, I know you kind of just came back, but you got it, okay.
You were talking about environment, so I'm good.
Trustee Fielko, are you good with that?
We're good.
Just on that one category.
Just on that one, right? Okay, so I'm going to strike that one. Trustee Stylen, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you see that recommends annual signage and facade program funding and parameters. I believe that one is in economic and development.
Yes.
So everyone's okay with striking that one. And then we added review of standard operating procedures, which is our SOPs. It's review. Everyone's good with adding that, right? Okay. So that was A&F. Behavioral health and addiction recovery. Didn't see any problems with that. Did anybody see any problems with that, Trustee Fielko?
My committees are running perfect. Leave them alone.
All righty. Everyone good with his perfect committees? All right. Community Development Committee, obviously a new committee for the village. So we're adding promote civic involvement, recommend resident communication strategies and initiatives, make recommendations for the community page and calendar on website. You guys can read, I'm sure you guys all read those. Are we okay with adding all of those? Trustee Consolino, we good with that? Trustee Fielko?
I see no problem with that.
Trustee Reinders?
Let's see what.
No problem.
Yes.
So giving authority,
Giving authority for review and making recommendations on the applications requesting sales tax through SOP.
Wait, where are you at?
You said, are we on economic development?
No, we're on community
Oh, I'm
development.
sorry.
Nope,
Okay.
you're good.
Sorry.
So you're good with community
Carry on,
development?
yes,
Oh, yep.
I'm good.
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that when there's confusion sometimes with the word community development, and when we're using it for this committee, it's because it's pertaining to residents, whereas like economic development pertains more to businesses and that type of development within the community.
Yep, and community is about bringing our residents together with the village. Right? All right, Trustee Mason, you got any concerns?
Nothing to add.
All right, good. So we're going to move on to, oh, wait a minute. Trustee Consolino, that's the second time in one day someone buy us a cocktail. Oh, wait, here we go. All right, moving it on. So the next page, Homer Community Festival.
Yes.
There's more on the
For the
community development.
Yeah, is everybody okay still with the second page of the community development? I really like the collect and preserve Homer Glen's history. I really think that's a great one to add in there. Which I'm sure, Sue, you have almost everything anyways.
Well, it actually had fallen under the Environment Committee at one time, but it just seems to fit better, I think, here. Because it's history, you know.
And branding, I mean, branding was always economic development. I mean, so.
recommend items pertaining to village image and branding. I do agree that's economic development.
Well, I see it differently because I think it is partly economic development, but I think the residents care just as much about our branding, such as community and nature and harmony.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to something like that, I think both committees.
Yeah.
So can we
input.
add an asterisk
Yeah.
to that one?
Yeah.
Gina? All right. Specifically, the community, nature, and harmony. I thought I saw that somewhere else on here. Okay.
Yeah, community, nature, and harmony is with environment.
Okay. Homer Community, or now it's called the Community Festival Committee. Trustee Beckel?
Here, I'm familiar with every one of these things that go on here. I think the list is fine. The only thing that, I don't know who's, I've seen some changes come along every now and again with changing the thing of the fest, and the committee's never really been involved with that change. What I'd like to see it say is Homerfest Committee. Nowhere in our conversations or our communications do we say Community Festival. It is Homerfest Committee. That's it.
I don't disagree, and I don't know who made the change, but we're actually called Homer Glen. There is a Homer, Illinois. I think if
No,
if
but
we're
I mean, for our
specific.
committee purposes, in our
Homerfest?
document, it only needs to say Homerfest Committee. This community festival thing is nowhere in the verbiage of anything that we promote, anything that we talk about, or anything that we do. Homerfest is the tag that we use for the whole event, the whole time, on every communication that we have. And so I'm not, it's kind of splitting the
No, it is. I just wanted to.
splitting the hair.
I know there was
but
a.
I would just recommend leaving it Homerfest Committee.
Trustee Gazzalino?
I'm going to suggest leaving it Homerfest Community. How many years have we been having the festival?
Since, well, where the village was involved by itself, or?
No, but I mean, how many years have we been having the fest where we call it Homerfest?
12.
That's our trade.
Well, I don't know who suggested it.
No, I know, but I agree with keeping it just Homerfest Committee because that's our trademark for how many years. People are not going to see that on a, on a post or something and be like, oh, Community Fest. I'm like, no.
Which community, right?
It's dumb.
Trustee Simon, you good with that?
Yeah, no, I thought that at one time the board, they changed the committee name to Homerfest. No, they changed it from something at one time. I don't know what it was, and then it got changed. So was this the last change? Okay, that was just like within the last couple of years. So, huh?
It's changed in the ordinance, I think, last year.
Okay.
Okay. Trustee Mason? Hold on, we got to go around the room.
I'm sorry.
I saw this, and I'm glad we're discussing it because I know it's rare, but I agree with Trustee Fialco. Let's keep it Homerfest. It has that feel to it, so.
All right, I do got something.
Oh, you didn't go to me.
Oh, Trustee Reinders, I'm sorry. I thought I went this way. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. A couple of things. As we all know, Trustee Fialco is not good. Has told us on several occasions that he's not going to run again and to be here for next year's festival. So I'm just wondering, what are our plans moving forward with this committee? Are we going to keep it a committee? Are we going to bring it in-house? I know that I've worked with some of the staff, and some of the staff would prefer that they control Homerfest versus actually from the staff versus the trustees.
You actually just teed me up. Thank you,
I'm sorry.
Trustee Reinders. I agree. So I believe now, like I said, this community started on volunteers. Trustee Silent was a volunteer before she was an employee, and this community survived on volunteers. And now that we're growing and we're, like I said, we're 23 years old, it's time to start moving things in-house. It does not mean that the committee members can't still participate. I've talked to some committee members, and they're still willing to help and do certain things that they're currently doing. It's just I don't think that we need a certain trust or a trustee involved with it. I think it's very important that we eliminate a lot of the confusion between what a trustee does, what a committee chairperson does, and what the committee members and what staff do. I think we need to start drawing the fine lines of what happens. My recommendation is to retire the Homer Festival Committee, when Mr. or Trustee Fialko is done and bring it in-house. That is my recommendation.
I concur. We talked about this earlier today, and I think it's a great idea, and I think that the staff does a wonderful job. They do no disrespect, Trustee Fialko, but they do 90%. Yes, you do a great job, but it is time. We're growing. The village is growing. We're adding staff. Yeah, I think you guys do a great job and get paid well for it.
Maybe they'll change it to Fialko Festival. Oh, yes.
We had a lot of conversation for a title that was only supposed to be. But with that said, I don't know if Joe would want to chime in on this a little bit, but our events staff, we've had a lot of people that have come and gone, a year and a half, 6 months, 3 months. There's been a big turnover in events. When you have a chair that is a trustee, you have oversight to making sure that somebody knows everything that's being done. And if you have the turnover, like we have had, and nobody in charge, you run into that problem. Like I said, I'm not running for trustee again. I'm not going to be the chair of Homerfest. I'm looking out for the people that are going to be there down the road. And I see if we have turnover like we have had in the past, that would be such a big burden on Joe and his staff without having somebody in charge that knows what's going on. And whoever you appoint, if you don't, I'll be there to help out till I'm gone. And I think we at first thought, what you said makes sense. But when you really think about, instead of just the tree, look at the forest, you could run into big troubles with doing it that way.
Trustee Fialko, I know how much you love this festival and this committee, so I know that you're not moving out of Homer Glen anytime soon, and I'm sure you're going to create a step-by-step book for the next person that comes in on all the things we need to look into, and like kind of like an SOP procedure before you resign, or not resign, I'm sorry, you're not resigning, retire as trustee.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish I had the one I was given to turn over to.
I know it.
I got nothing when I stepped in.
And I understand.
Kick in the shins.
I understand, but you would never let that happen to the next person.
But my point isn't that, though. My point is having knowledge on this board and in this village of what's going on. You put it all to staff and you've got turnover of all the events people, and only they know what's going on, and a trustee not involved. I mean, it's your choice. Yeah, the board's choice, however you guys want to do it. But my recommendation at a minimum would keep a trustee somehow involved with the day-to-day operations of what's going on with the fest, only for that reason of turnover in the events.
I'm going to go back to the trustees one more time, but I will add this. I think, though, part of the problem, and no offense to anybody here, I'm part of the problem, is that, again, staff has many bosses. There's 7 of us up here, plus their village manager, plus they have director heads. When each one of us go and say, I want this, I want that, or I want this, or no, don't do that, don't do this, or yes, do this for me and do that, and then they get confused. And there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And I think what happens is we get in our own way to be successful, and I think the staff is ready to take charge. And I agree with you, there is turnover. Maybe there won't be as much turnover. And I think, like I said, we know that you love that fest, and I know you'll be great at coming back to volunteer and helping and assisting staff, because the staff will be open to have the volunteers that have the knowledge. And Trustee Stylin's going to be here for at least another 3 years. She's had knowledge of doing it. I've got a little knowledge, and we'll figure it out. I have faith.
Back to the title.
The Elko Fest. We'll talk about it in a few years. Let's see how that book comes along.
Can I comment?
Trustee
Because I
Stylin.
haven't commented on that, bringing it in the House. First of all, staff does have a binder that's like this thick with all the stuff that has gone on with that goes through the fest. But I am concerned about bringing it in-house immediately, because the number of volunteers that it takes to pull off that event, staff can't do that. You have to have all the volunteers that are at the information booth, the volunteers that are handling the bands at the stage, the volunteers that are handling, like, directing some traffic parking, and yes, that can be coordinated, but I just caution like how that is done. And I don't think right now the staff that we have, I mean, because we have staff exiting, the current staff has enough knowledge to pull that off. I just don't. And this is an item that's a big budget item. It's a $250,000 budget. And just to leave it without, so maybe A&F needs to talk about it, I don't know, but just to like make that kind of a decision right here today, I don't think you can do that.
So I will piggyback off what you said, Trustee Styling. So I did review A&F, and all of that is under A&F, exactly what you just said. And I did talk to some of the FEST committee people, and they don't want to go anywhere. They still want to volunteer. And you are in charge of the Community Development Committee, which also says supports other events and supports volunteerism and supports all these things. And I think you'll do a great job of getting some volunteers. And I don't think Trustee Fialko's going anywhere. I think he's going to help.
That's a big job. I'm just saying.
I think I have faith in our staff to do it. I've seen them take on bigger tasks, and I think they can do it.
No,
I mean when you were
it's
here,
a big job for a committee. Like if you were to give that to Community Development Committee, that would be beyond the scope.
But volunteering, I think all of our committees can participate. I think every single one of our committees should find volunteers. I think all of our committee members should volunteer for that. We all play a role in that event. It's in the parks. I mean, we've got environment things, we got ability and awareness, we got, every committee. I think the staff can do it.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes.
I think the staff does do 90%. I know Mr. Woods' people are out there and they're working. I know Jennifer Victoria's people are out there and they're working. I know that we have the volunteers. I don't think they're going away. The people that help now are going to help later. I think it's no different than A&F. A&F went away. Everybody didn't like what was happening. We brought it back. We can revisit that at that time. If Sue needs help, I will jump in too, Sue. I did the largest trade shows in the country. So I know how to plan things. We can do this together. We can do it as a community, but we can also do it in-house. We'll find out. If we need to bring it back, we bring it back.
Trustee Consolino?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to speak yet. I honestly don't think that this is the appropriate legislative item to be discussing this. This should go before A&F when it starts up again. It should also go to the Homer Fest Committee, and I think you should be asking your committee members how they all feel about it, what their suggestions are. I'd rather stick to the topic of what's at hand. Thank you.
Well, it is a topic at hand, but I don't know what my roles are as mayor since they're diminishing day by day. But for committees, I'm going to have to review because I think I have the right to appoint chairs of each committee, and I don't know what happens if there's not one. So, or if I don't pick a chair for a committee, or if, how that works. So we'll have to review that. But it's up to you guys to leave it in or not. But if we do leave it in, then some things got to change under the festival committee responsibilities. I'm going to go back to Trustee Ryland first, and then go again.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to point out was, yes, we have had a mass exodus of people leaving for our events department, but there's so many extenuating circumstances that are involved in that department right now. And I think with Chris leaving and Elena leaving, I think that was purely based on the fact of what happened with Jackie. I don't think that it was the workload, because many times I've heard them say that I don't have anything to do. I'm sitting here, I don't have anything to do. So bringing it back in-house, I mean, when we do rebuild that department, I think would be a great responsibility for them, but I think it's a responsibility that the new people would probably take on eagerly. The other thing is that volunteer list. One of the things that I had talked to the mayor about was the fact that we have all these lists of volunteers, and one of the things that we talked with Chris, the same thing was that nothing is coordinated, nothing is together. So there's a list here, a list there. So why don't we bring all these lists together and have one list where if we need a volunteer, we know we can go to our main database, create a database of all these volunteers. People all the time say, well, I never get a call. Well, you might not get a call because maybe you didn't volunteer for that event at that time, but you maybe volunteered for something else. So I think we really need to create a database and coordinate all of our lists together as one master list, and then be able to choose from that. And then everybody gets the same information. So that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Reiner. Trustee Fielko?
I would just like to move forward with this on this thing here, to change it from Community Festival Committee until A&F has a chance to look at it, and that conversation is held maybe with staff a little bit deeper than it was today. But I'd like to, I get what you're saying, but at this point, I'd like to just it to remain as Homerfest Committee until it's dissolved.
Trustee Stylen? I'm just going back around in the order so nobody's left
Yeah,
out.
I think there is just so much stuff that people do not know, and I'm not going to go into like great detail here because database lists and things, I mean, I've just lived that for so long, and I really think it should be left as is until it's discussed further. I think if you have a staff person doing this in-house, they still have to have a committee. They have to pull in Public Works, they have to pull in Public Safety and other entities, fire. It's not just like that staff can do that. I'm saying it's just, I think you really have to talk about this in more detail.
As staff, wasn't it difficult to have many different bosses telling you
Oh,
which
definitely.
direction?
No, yeah, I mean, I think that maybe the duties and things need to be redefined, but this is also something that affects community spirit. And so I'm just cautioning, I mean, that's what built this, and I just think that people are not considering all the factors right now, and you just can't. It's just like, you know, sometimes you make a change. I think I was just talking to somebody today about this. You make an ordinance change or a code, and then when you start to implement it, you find the problem. And that's my concern here, that you would just eliminate this, and then now you're going to have a problem. And so I just think it needs to be thought through a little bit more.
Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Consolino?
No, I'm waiting to speak on Economic Development Committee.
Okay. I disagree with Trustee Stylen and Trustee Fielko. I think it should be removed, but again, I don't have a vote. So we're going to leave it. However, I do have major concerns of because it used to just say festival event. That's all it said. So whatever it was, it shall be. However, coordination of annual festival. Festival event scheduling. There's no definition to anything what any of this says. Festival location footprint, street closures, coordination with public services and safety officials, financial obligations, contracts. I mean, I know the board has to see all the contracts. I know the attorney has to review contracts. I just, from being the mayor for the last year and seeing all the challenges that I've been coming across with this, I think there's a lot of work to be done. That's why I think it's easier to work in-house. Licensing and insurance. We have committees doing licensing insurance. Parking and transportation protocols, event website, promotional and sponsor opportunities. Committee members are going to go out to our businesses and get sponsorships. I believe that should be in-house. Volunteers and publicity and signage. I mean, to me, that's why do we have an events? Why are we hiring for events? I mean, realistically, I mean, then let's just leave them out of the Homer Festival. But Gina, did you have your hand up for something?
Oh, no, I was just going to say really quickly. So for the list for the Homer Community Festival Committee, this list, that I don't remember who wrote out this list, but I do know recently when I was updating the SOP, because I know it went to the board twice and was tabled. So recently I did send it to each staff liaison to review it with the chairpersons of their committee. So I don't know if you saw this, Dan, or not, but if you did not, then maybe we could review it after the fact and go over it again.
I did not see any changes that you're speaking of that came out too. When did you send that out?
She's talking about the ones in blue, because it used to just say festival event. It had no, nothing under it. She's saying, did you see the blue?
Yeah. The blue, I mean, the blue is all stuff that we've been doing, though. That's all stuff that was in there. And the chair of the fest knows the details of every one of these things. The chair is like the conductor, right? Everybody in this room knows what the trustee has done as far as talking to everybody. And the only word of caution I would give you is on a national level. We wanted to go from gasoline to electric vehicles, right? And they want to do it overnight. And what I'm saying is they're trying to do something way too fast instead of a slow transition. My recommendation and Sue's recommendation, two people who have been involved with the fest for a long time, are saying, I think we just need to maybe find a way to transition and not just do it all at one time, if that's what you want to do.
So what I'm saying is, now that since we're not removing it, just like every other committee, it should be recommend and review. I don't think the committee should be writing contracts.
They don't.
Yes, you do.
No, the committee doesn't. I look at it and I go through legal with them. The committee doesn't write the contracts. I go through that with legal.
You're a single-ended person, you're a trustee.
Yeah.
Your committee, so you do make all these decisions for your committees?
No, well, with the contracts, yes. When it comes to legal, I get legal involved with our contracts, which, like I worked with Carrie Horvath. Then it comes to the board, so it's going through its process from the trustee, who's the chair. Right. Then it goes through legal. Then it comes back to the board. So it's doing.
Right. So what I'm saying though is, your committee should be doing a lot of the work with you. No single one person should be making the decision. And that's part of the problems that we have. And these are part of the complaints and the issues. Okay. As a chairman for the Ability Awareness, I would never make a sole decision without my committee. In fact, the committee makes decisions that I disagree with, but the committee, the body as a whole is recommending something. So if we're going to leave these in, again, I don't agree. But if you guys so choose to leave this in, it should say, review, recommend, consider. The committee never makes the decisions.
And may I just ask briefly, I think everybody is clear on this, and let me just, if not, I'll just give the opinion quickly. The village board does not delegate its authority, its decision-making, its final authority to any committee, period. Everything that comes out of any committee always gets referred back, I think as Trustee Fialco just said, everything comes back to this board for final action, for final approval, period. Or the board looks at it and sends it back because they want more information from the committee, what have you, before they make their call. But the actual decision-making and the binding authority comes from the village board. Just for clarification.
Okay. Okay, so based off of what I said, I just want to get a consensus of yay or nay, or Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I agree with you on this, Mayor. I think that recommend and review, and I would just, I would take some of the things off of here because licensing, insurance, I mean, I totally agree, things like that are a staff item. That's not a committee item. So that's why.
Let's go around we'll go back to recommendations to remove things. Let's go back to recommend and review, unless you want to do it all.
No, I totally agree with the recommend and review.
Okay, recommend and review or not?
Absolutely.
Recommend and review or not?
Yes, but I have a question.
We're gonna keep going. I just want to do one thing at a time. Sure. Yes. Recommend and review. Okay. Trustee Stylen, you wanted to strike things or add?
Well, I just, right now, I would strike licensing and insurance. I'm looking at these real quick. So everything else is probably just a recommend. I don't know if there's anything that's review. It's just basically, it's recommending everything. Yeah.
Restrike insurance, or licensing insurance?
I don't think it needs to be in there.
Trustee Castellino? We're talking about licensing and insurance.
Well,
to strike that.
I have a question for Trustee Fialco, and so I was just trying to ask him, which items on here went through A&F prior to this past year?
Most of these things went through A&F, especially if there were changes. Insurance and stuff, I mean, I worked with Gia Casson with insurance, Joe with insurance. It's going through, everything is going through staff. That's what everybody doesn't understand. And I don't care how, I mean, to me, I'm okay with however you want to run it, honestly. But I think the review part, why don't we just leave this alone and let the review take its place and bring the review, whatever the review is, how it comes out of A&F or even the FES committee, then they can make the recommendations back to this board and then you can make a decision.
I'd rather do it all at once because then we're making so many times we have to keep back and come back and then change the number of, could
you ask Joe Baber, please, or
what?
I'd like to hear his opinion on this because that's his staff that has to take on this new burden, and I'm curious what Joe has to say.
I like the idea of reviewing this.
Yeah, Joe can speak, yeah.
I like the idea of reviewing these items individually, talking to the FES committee, and getting their input as far as volunteering. I know, Mayor, you've talked to some of the committee members, see what they think. I think it could be managed internally, but I think we still need to have
some sort of oversight.
Some input from a committee or other individuals outside just staff. And I don't know if that would be handled through A&F or, and given the current environment of our event staff, I would like to kind of just take a step back and maybe revisit this after the fest this year and then reevaluate.
So to touch on that, we've already know that Trustee Fialko is going to leave the community festival. That means I have to bring a new trustee in with all new committee members. Some want to stay, but I'm assuming some are going to leave, which is going to create confusion and the same problems that we keep having with our event staff and the complaints on overstepping. And I'm trying to avoid that.
I would like to redevelop the event staff and see where we're at in a month or two and then revisit this. I think there's things going on with that department right now. There's things that potentially could be happening that I'm working on, so I'd like to just take a step back and table this for a little bit.
Okay. Trustee, wait, I'm on Trustee Fialko, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Reinders. Oh, wait, we're still on licensing insurance. Are we going to strike that?
I actually just would prefer that this go to A&F.
The whole thing?
The whole thing. Go to A&F for review. We take each line item, review it, see if it should be brought back in-house or if it should remain on a committee.
Okay, so the motions we'll continue on because I know Trustee Constantino wants to get to Economic Development Committee. So we're just going to say to
table this.
Table this, well, are you going to table the whole thing?
No,
so for the Homer Festival Committee, we're going to approve. Excuse me, I'm sorry, what did you say? Oh, I said, what I was trying to say was that we could approve this with all the changes, bring this back to, or bring it to A&F with recommendations for review and approval of the village board.
Right.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Legal?
I mean, I'm trying to follow, ma'am, what we're doing right now.
We all are, isn't that great? So basically, A&F wants to discuss, which I don't understand why A&F would discuss what a committee does.
Madam Mayor, how does it currently read right now? Without the amendments, without the blue, I see blue, and blue usually tells...
It usually just says Homer Festival Committee handles the festival event, and there's no rhyme or reason. There's no strict duties of what they do. That's all it says.
Okay.
So they're trying to add responsibilities to the committee.
And based upon the debate, do they want to move all those responsibilities for the Homer Fest somewhere else? Or do they just want to leave it as is, how it was, and revisit the Homer Fest committee at a later point?
Right. They want to go to A&F first.
Correct.
And have A&F discuss it, and then bring it back here to vote on it, which I don't understand what A&F, why would A&F is making a decision on a committee?
So Madam Mayor, if I may make a suggestion?
Sure.
I would just remove all of the additions, everything under the Homer Festival Committee with the exception to the name, if the board wants to amend the name and call it the Homer Fest Committee, as Trustee Fialko spoke about earlier. All the additions that you want to add to the SOP that are in blue, we're not dealing with those right now. We are not going to consider those. Those are the previous iteration that the SOP previously in existence, whatever is stated under its responsibilities for Homer Fest Committee shall stand. And you're going to review those at a later point.
Has everyone got that?
Yes.
Okay,
I agree.
got it. All right, does everybody agree with what, okay, so we're going to move on to Economic Development Committee.
You did say go ahead and change the name.
Oh, yeah. We're changing the
That's
name.
when we started it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there would be an amendment to the SOP to change the name to read.
Homer.
I'll make that motion and make an
No, wait,
amendment.
we're not done with we're not done with motions yet,
Oh,
because we got more to go. We're doing all the amendments at once. We're agreeing on the amendments.
Madam Mayor, maybe start from the beginning and just go through the whole slew of amendments up to this point, and so we can have one vote. People might forget what amendments everybody has agreed to, so
Okay.
just go from the beginning to where we're at now, vote on one set of amendments, then we have an amended.
It's pretty simple. We're not that far. Yeah.
I know we've discussed even with some of the previous committees, changes, recommendations, review. What I would like, maybe we can consider is going through the remaining committees and then make those changes, let staff make those changes to go back to A&F for recommendations at that point.
Yes. That's what we're going to do. For Homer Fest, you're talking about.
All
of them?
SOP1.
So do you want to just make the motion to where we're left off right now and then bring everything?
Go through the rest of the committees, get any feedback or recommendations from trustees on the rest of the committees.
Okay.
Let staff go back, re-review, because we talked about in previous committees, recommendation, review. We didn't go line by line. Let staff work on presenting that to A&F as the whole SOP1 document and go from there.
Okay. I was just assuming that the trustees did their homework and read every single
Because
one
I
and
think
we're okay.
we got too many amendments going on right now.
No, not really. It's really easy. We have none for the mayor direct board, none for ability awareness.
I think admin and finance.
All we added was to put review and recommend and review.
In every bullet item?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what we do for every other, that's what we're doing for every other committee. Everything either says explore, review, recommend, research, review.
Provide. I would just like to present a clean-up document, an SOP1, a very clean document. Because
Okay, we'll just make recommendations. So
Even
we'll
the titles. that we
Table,
have-
is this what you're saying is to table it?
Well, I guess, yes.
Because how are we going to vote if we don't know?
Yep.
right.
Yes.
One other suggestion is you can have a series of amendments. You can vote on the first amendment for whatever the first changes were to that to the one committee. Go to the second amendment, the third amendment's approved, fourth amendment, so then you might have 6 or 7 amendments that have already been approved in series.
Right. The problem that we're having is that we constantly keep bringing back like SOP1, SOP1, and then we
Right.
make a change, then we make 5 changes. I mean, look at our gaming ordinance. How many times are we bringing it back? We've got so many different numbers to the same one. I'd rather just keep it the same number so we know which is the final and where we started.
Sure.
Right? So I'd rather, for cleanup's sake, and staff is agreeing with me, to just make the recommendations today and table this, but still discuss and do recommendations and then table it. They'll do a cleanup copy and then we can do another vote. And then it can, in the meanwhile, it can still go to A&F with their recommendations.
Perfect.
Did I hear a perfect? You got an okay? Not so much? Trustee Grinder or Stylen? I do that to you too. every time.
I'm fine with the plan.
Okay, fine with the plan. All right, so we are now at Economic Development Committee. Trustee Consolino.
Okay, on this one, I would like to strike review and make recommendations on applications requesting sales tax through SOP. Number 7.
Where is it? Number what?
It's at the very end.
1, 2, 3,
So
4,
I think that should go on A&F.
Review and make recommendations on applications requesting sales tax.
Madam Mayor.
SOP 7.
I don't think that that's something that should be.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
can I provide some input? That comes directly out of it, the existing
special service, SOP number 7, where it lays out the process for what has to be submitted as an application, what the review process is, and then it goes to the ED committee to make a recommendation to the board, and then it goes to the board for final consideration.
Yeah, I thought that
That's
was
in
how
SOP
it
7
went.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay, but blue is additional, correct? It's economic.
This was just never updated. This was a chance to update the SOP for the committee, and so this is just one of the responsibilities that the committee has. It just ties it back to SOP 7.
I still feel, Janie, that this should go back on A&F since we are bringing back A&F.
So I do understand what Trustee Consolino is saying, but I also see what you're saying. So A&F is kind of like the, what is it, like the filter of all the other committees. Like when the committees make their recommendations or their contracts or their expenses or their sales tax or their taxes, they kind of are like that goes to A&F and then it filters to the board. That's why I kept saying I see it so many times. That's why I wasn't part of A&F, because I see it. I do think it should stay with economic development because you guys submit it to A&F. I mean, you submit it to the board, but the A&F is ultimately going to receive it anyways the way A&F is written. Because isn't it in A&F already? There's something in there regarding that. I seen it in here somewhere. Trustee
Madam-
Reinders and I discussed it today.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
It also could be a recommendation of one of the committees to go back to A&F, another committee. That could be a recommendation of another committee, is to go to another committee.
So A&F is like a mini board of the board.
Yes. I don't see it on A&F.
Trustee Consolino, were you done? Or I know you said you didn't see it on
No,
A&F.
my reasoning is this, we keep having questions where items are being brought before the board about, with schools and granting them this exception with SOP 7. And, this was originally supposed to be for big box stores, and it ended up going to a few others that it probably shouldn't have, as incentives, where no other small businesses received it. So I feel that it's a much better fit going before A&F.
So
to the board.
I do see under A&F where it says support and/or recommend economic development initiatives, which I think includes that.
Where is that one at?
It's right under admin and finance. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th one up from the bottom.
Consideration of new tax revenues or increases in existing tax revenues?
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
On the bottom?
On the other page.
On the second page? So you said.
So right under admin and finance, the big bold, where it says big bold admin and finance, the 6th one up from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Support and recommend economic development initiatives, which that would be one, which has an asterisk by it, which
I
means
see the asterisk.
it's in another committee somewhere.
Okay.
So to me, I think it should stay in both.
I still would like to remove it.
Trustee Fialko?
I think this was shifted over into community and economic development because we had basically tabled A&F. Now, when I was on the chair of A&F and Joe, these SOP 7s would come through. I think it's better to go back to A&F because, honestly, with 4 of us on the board at that meeting, we're filtering it out right then and there and having that conversation. There's no reason for an advisory board to tell the board on A&F what they think, or the board later on, when we're already going back to it. And we just gave a check for $6,000 some to a restaurant that qualified for it before. But the thing is, that's a very sensitive document, and it has to be read properly and everything else. I think going back to A&F is the right move because it was with the A&F before. And it is very controversial when it comes up. And being that there's going to be 4 of us on A&F again, I think that's where it needs to end, and then it'll come to the board and we'll make that decision. But the shift was done because we got rid of A&F.
No, it was not. However, hold on, Trustee, and I'm going to get to you for 1 second. But Trustee Fialko, what you just said is exactly what I was saying about the Homer Festival Committee. You guys are doing financial obligations, contracts, licensing, insurance.
What does that have to
That's stuff that should go through A&F. In my opinion, those are things that go through A&F.
Well, that's
so why is it good for one but not the other?
That's why we're reviewing it, but it doesn't need to go through economic and development.
So why does it need to go through the FEST first?
We're reviewing the fest thing, we're gonna come back with that, right? So I get what you're
Remember
saying.
that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have anything to do with the fest anymore, so. The thing is, what I'm saying now is focusing on this, being that 4 trustees are gonna be on the admin and finance board, it doesn't make shit sense to go hash through it so many times when we're already there.
But it does, because there's still other board members, because then what's the point of having 6 of us? Why don't we just have 4?
I think that's the best I can say it, so.
Right, I don't necessarily think with the 4 I picked, you guys are always going to agree. So I think you're going to need others to decide on ultimate decisions anyways. But trustee Reinders?
When I was on economic development, we were the ones that handled this. This is not something that was given over to A&F or taken from A&F and given to economic development. This is something that we always handled. So I don't know. I mean, I think if there was something that A&F should review on this, that's fine. But I think this is another one of those things that's a crossover. It's like one committee should do it, but another committee should review it. But it's, it's double work. So, and it's going to come to the board anyway. And it is, and you're right. I agree with you when I say this is a very volatile issue in this community, because you have a lot of businesses that have never known about this and could have taken advantage of it, so.
Trustee Stylen? Regarding that one point so far.
I think it belongs in the Economic Development Committee if there's a question then A&F will see it eventually.
Right.
Trustee Mason?
I concur with trustee Stylen. If it's going to go there, then I don't think A&F has to see absolutely everything. And if it's redundant and overlapping, then maybe just stays in with economic development.
All right, so trustee Cancelino's recommendation was to remove it, but it sounds like the consensus from 3 out of the 5 is to leave it under economic development. Okay, we are still in economic development. Does anybody see any additional changes? There's a lot of red, a lot of blue. I know you guys, I assume you guys took the time to read this. Was there any more concerns on this? Again, it says review, provide input, recommend, evaluate, support, recommend, review. It's the same wording that I'm looking for the rest of the committees. Any additional changes on this one? Okay. Environment Committee. There's some changes on there. Earth Day, Arbor Day Festival was removed because we don't do it anymore. However, I think that's a great event and we should probably bring it back one day. Biodiversity initiatives, Project Heinz Emerald Dragonfly was removed. Prairie Style Garden at Bell Road and 151st. I mean, you guys can obviously see what was removed. There was a star on mine where it says identify and recommend methods for defining, acquiring, and preserving open spaces. That's the 4th one up from the bottom. I didn't asterisk this, so I don't know why it's asterisked on mine. Trustee Reinders?
I was going to put the asterisk.
I was like, maybe I got your paper, I'm not sure.
It was basically only because it's the same in parks and in environment. And I think this is another example of crossover.
Oh. So you want to put an asterisk by it, is pretty much what you're saying?
Yes.
Trustee Consolino, you're the chairman of the Environment Committee. Are you good with that? I'm okay with that. That makes sense. Okay, and then any other changes for that? Gina, did you get that? 4th one up, asterisk? Melissa, you're on the Environment Committee too.
I am. I was just going to add that to follow you, I think half of ours say support, promote, recommend, but we could probably add support, facilitate, promote to the top. I'm noticing that's not on there, and we can go back and edit that.
Yeah,
and add.
I was going to get to that, but thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. Trustee Fielko, did I ask you yet? Anything you wanted to change? No, you're good?
I want to...
You went by me, thank you.
Oh, I did already?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I was going to say what Director King was mentioning with the review, but just to point out, all these things could probably be done by staff as well. So, when you're making the case about the FEST committee, so.
I do have one question though, because we...
Did I get you already, or did I skip you?
Only because
Kinda.
it was brought up
All right.
about crossing over. So this is something I didn't think about when we looked at this before. I want to ask Trustee Reinders and I want to ask Melissa King, do you guys see anything else on here where you think we cross over?
Probably the I was looking at the wildflower and nature plant programs, because I know, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
Because I didn't even think about that when I was looking, and this is good because there should be conversation, and we've talked about this before, between both committees on certain things.
Yes.
So it's staying in your lane for everything else, but there are things that we do cross over on. So, and Jennifer's gone, right? Otherwise I would have asked her. Melissa, you got anything?
I do.
Well, I want to get through what Dr. Baber. Trustee Consolino, let me ask them, but I want to get through. Trustee Consolino, were you done? Okay, Trustee Stylen, I didn't want to cut you off when I did. Are you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, Trustee Mason, I didn't get to you yet. You're good. Mr. Baber.
I just think the use of an asterisk on overlapping committees may be a useful tool in this whole process. That's an idea. It's something I just seen.
I'd like to asterisk it and put the second committee or the third committee where it also, because if there's
Where
ever
it's
a
an
need of
overlap,
discussion
right. Exactly.
between the two, it'd be nice. But to testify to what Trustee Stylen said, I actually agree on that too. I mean, there's a lot of things that the staff does do for this committee and can do for this. I think it's important. I mean, the trustees are here for 4 years, sometimes 8 years, sometimes 12 years, but the committee chairman changes a lot. There's different ideas, and it's a lot of stress on staff, so I want to keep implementing that. We got to kick the birds out of the nest every now and then. So I'd like to bring that one back to A&F as well for review on what staff can do. And Mr. Baber, I'd hope you'd be a part of that discussion for some of these things. Thanks.
I think we're missing something on here too. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Trustee Reinders pointed out, like, we're missing seedlings on here, but that's a newer event the past several years.
Oh,
Could we add that, please?
That's something that the parks, actually,
And Parks helps so too.
Yeah, I always help with that.
Gina, did you get that? Okay. Okay, so we're good there. All right, Parks and Recreation Committee, since Trustee Reinders like to draw on mine as well, I'll start with you on that one. I see an asterisk on number 5.
Actually, the only thing that we wanted to add on here, the committee wanted to make a recommendation that we are allowed to review and make recommendations on new developments, like stuff like this with the parks, going in new developments, and then in regards to trail locations and things like that. So those are in park donations. So, and like Melissa said, land in lieu of putting a park there.
I thought you guys did do that.
We do something similar, but they specifically wanted this language in there.
Wasn't it under SOP for parks? Yes, Melissa.
Here,
I don't think it was ever
says, identify and recommend park usage, standard operating, or the same thing with identify and recommend methods for defining, acquiring, and preserving potential recreation open space parcels. But they
Open
wanted
space.
to, yeah, they wanted to include.
I get that, but I believe it's in our ordinances and our codes that every time of development, it's not.
It's not, but we, may I speak?
Yeah.
But when we took we don't handle very many residential development petitions, but when we did Villas of Old Oak, I think it was just brought up as a conversation piece, and we did embed that into the development process, but it's not part of the process officially.
Not really. I guess it's just always been done, so I never second guess that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. All right. And then moving on to public services and safety, the only one again I have is to add the words recommend and review.
And the 5th one from the bottom, what does vacation have to do with?
That's the 3rd time tonight. I asked that same question, but it's not vacation like going to Maui. It's like vacating.
Vacating. Well, that's not what it says.
I know,
It says vacation. Vacating is different.
It is the same. It's a different term.
Wouldn't you say vacating instead of vacation?
Well, you're vacating.
would say vacating.
When you think about it, when you go on vacation, you're leaving your home, so it's the same kind
I'm
of.
going to vacate you, Joe.
The survey term is plat of vacation.
Right. It's funny, I said the same thing, and someone else said it earlier too. But that's the only one I have. Everyone good with saying recommend and review or whatever, where we need to add it or consider or whatever. Everybody good? Trustee Consolino, Trustee Fialko, Trustee Reinders? Yes, okay. Well, that was not as painful as I
You needed a motion
thought.
to table this, is that what you want?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to table L10 for corrections.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Consolino, I think, beat him. Trustee Mason? Madam Clerk, please call the roll for tabling.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Reinders, you want to vote?
Trustee Reinders?
Oh, aye. You were talking to me.
Okay, so that is tabled. The next one up is 10. Consider, huh? 11, I was going to read 11, sorry. Consider for approval the meeting dates of the first Wednesday of each of the remaining months of this calendar year to 2024, meeting schedule calendar for the Administration and Finance Committee. The meeting times will be at 2:00 p.m. on each of the respective Wednesdays aforementioned.
I'll
Is
make
there
that
a
motion.
Trustee
second.
Mason and Trustee Reinders. Is there any discussion? Mason first?
No, I've discussed it with the other trustees, and I think that works best for us. So I think we're in agreement.
Trustee Reinders, your
I
second?
think we need to address July 3rd.
Oh.
Day before 4th of July. So,
You're already,
I won't be at that meeting.
Neither will I.
neither will I.
okay, do you guys want to make a motion?
I'll make all the decisions.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to change it to a different date? Do you want to cancel it in its entirety?
Cancel.
I say cancel it.
Okay, so you're making a motion to amend the dates to remove July 3rd?
Yes.
And I'll
Is there a
second
second to
that.
amendment? Is there any more discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can you please call the roll on the original, or on the motion with the amendment?
Trustee
Amend the
Stylen?
motion.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. It's only 9 o'clock, guys. We usually go to midnight.
And we were stuck on that for an hour.
Here.
No.
Can I say?
How long were we stuck on?
Ma'am.
Okay, I'm just going to look at September 4th as well, only because Labor Day weekend, I don't know how we got on here.
You guys complained that you wanted A and F, and now you might as well just cancel them all.
No.
This is a Wednesday. It's not Monday, so it's a Wednesday.
When is, okay, I just want to make sure that it didn't fall, because I know a lot of people go away just for that last week of, you know what I mean?
I'll be back.
End of the summer.
Middle of the week.
But I mean, they go away for a whole Labor Day week.
Cool.
Oh, okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Good? We're good.
I'm good.
All right, moving on to old business. Oh, 2024 Plan Commission Annual Report. I'm going to give that to Melissa.
Hi.
Hi.
So we had a chance at the last Plan Commission meeting to discuss the topics that were asked of the Plan Commission for the annual report. And I was able to put this together pretty fast and do a case review of last year. This is just a list. It has a description and what the votes were for each zoning case type. And I did a little analytics on page 3 that shows, how many different kinds of cases that we take in every year. And then I broke it down by percentages. That's pretty simple. We do handle quite a few variances. And on page 4, I did a pretty brief summary of the last zoning code amendments we've done. Just in the last fiscal year, we really only handled one, although we've been, I think, really wanting to tackle some more zoning code amendments, which we'll talk about in the recommendations. But I think that the priority right now at the board level has been handling our liquor and tobacco and gaming ordinances right now. So a lot of that has been kind of shelved for those big projects. I did list what we did at the last zoning code amendment in January 23, which took about 18 months to go through, which was quite a bit of update. And on page 5 on the back, we talked about the priority code updates, and the corner side fencing topic came up that was discussed at the board level. The Plan Commission did recommend the accessory dwelling units that we talked about when we had that special use request come in, that we were going to change those regulations. There was a few things that were brought up about, I think we ended up conditioning that special use because we didn't like a few of the things that were in the code at the time, so they want to go back and fix that. There's restaurant parking, cemetery regulations, which were a big topic this last year, and massage therapy establishments. I know that that was discussed with tobacco and liquor and gaming, and that we should go back and maybe look at our ordinance for that. And also, not to drop off the radar, but talking about campaign signage, and that's in our sign code and zoning. And then I know I kind of jumped around, but the top priority from a code update after discussion much of the night was to establish some sort of concept review process for new development in the village. A number of our peer communities use a concept review process that's codified, where a developer can go through and present a concept plan, a narrative, much like we've done at the board level of a project, and then it goes also to board, and then it actually goes with an ordinance that gets voted on, and they have about a year typically to come back through the process. It's a lot less intensive as far as monetary expenditure to get to that point, to kind of look at it from a land use perspective, like a general perspective. So I think it would be a really good thing for us to look at. I think this village also likes to hear public comment. It would be a really great way to hear from our public before there's a lot of investment on the development end. So I think this is a great tool, and we should look at it. And the plan commissioners, after much discussion about a lot of these, that ended up being really their top priority from a code amendment standpoint. And we even talked about the landscape code that night, but it kind of dropped off because really that top priority was that if we can't get development in here, what's good is a landscape code, really. So at the end of the day, I think this was one of the top pieces of to be promoted. The comprehensive plan they discussed, I don't know how much you want me to go into this. I think the board is very aware of what happened in 2019 to 2020. We did a comp plan update. Our comp plan is relatively old. It's from 2005. It's very outdated as far as best practices go, and our staff, all of us, would recommend that we do an update. In 2019, I don't remember how much we spent, but I know it was well over $100,000 on a consultant. We got all the way through, I think it was well over, I think it was about 18 months of work. And they were working on it before I started in 2019, and in 2020 was when we ended 2020, we took it to public hearing. It was met with a lot of resistance from the public, and it ultimately got shelved and never picked back up. So the Plan Commission, I think the high-level takeaway was that they believe that this is a very big priority for the village and that we need to go forward with something, right? And it's a matter of what the village board would like to direct staff and the Plan Commission to how to handle it. So I think there's a bunch of options that we talked about that night, whether it's doing simple updates to the existing comp plan that we have, hiring a new consultant. I think if we pick up from where we were, we'd probably have to go with the original consultant that we were using, which the Plan Commission did not recommend that. They thought that we would need to, if we were going to go out again and do a full update, they would like to get a different consultant. And then they talked a lot about, if we go that route, having more eyes on the selection of that planning consulting firm than just staff, so that it's more robust. When I say that, I mean that maybe there's interviews at Plan Commission, maybe there's interviews with board members, and that there's just more eyes on whoever we select. So those were the takeaways on the comp plan. And then they also discussed just that we should have more input from research organizations, and that they wanted us to put a list together of agencies and organizations that we could work with that would align with our own planning initiatives, working with, I guess, like CMAP type of programs and organizations. And then they talked about annexation, and I think that what came out of that conversation was really protecting boundaries. And the area that was talked about the most was along the 159th Street corridor on the north side of that area. And I think there was a lot of discussion that night about the self-storage facility that's out there that's going up in Will County right now. You know, the village objected to that project and was not able to successfully stop it. And they were granted I-1 zoning in the middle of that area, which is called out in our comprehensive plan as our future, mixed-use corridor. And I think, anyways, that was the topic here, and this is all that they discussed that night. And if there's any comments or questions or thoughts by the board, we would love to hear it. And Vice Chair McGarry is here if you have questions for her as well.
My comments are, again, I don't see, so I know the review we just did was for committees, but I don't see the Planning Commission one attached to this update, what their job duties are, which I think by looking at this report also overlaps now with A&F, environment, economic. So again, a lot of overlapping. And that was the purpose of why we removed A&F, because there was so much overlap and so many different thoughts of like A&F has it one way, Planning Commission has it another, Environment has it another, and everyone thinks that their committee's the right route. So that's the original reason why A&F got removed. But I would also like to see the Planning Commission's description, so we can also put asterisks on, where there's overlap.
It's in a totally separate section of the code. They have their own
Understood,
section.
because it's commission.
And many of their responsibilities actually come directly out of the state statutes.
Correct.
And what's granted by the state.
Understood, but after looking this, right, there's a lot of what is discussed in here, that's also discussed here. So again, a lot of overlap. The A&F committee is going to be busy. Anybody else, Trustee Mason? No?
Oh, I'm
You had your
sorry.
hand
Did you
up.
call me? I
Yeah.
didn't hear you. Yeah, I believe that what you're saying is correct. I think there's going to be overlap and a lot of asterisks, and we need to know where those are.
Trustee Stylen?
Well, this is the first report we've had, and I think that I can ever recall for the Plan Commission. This is great because it gives us a nice way to look at some of the things that we might need to work on. And if you're looking for a recommendation of priorities for code updates, I would just like to emphasize that the update for the cemetery regulations is important to me because we have a lot of land that's vacant, and I could see that issue coming to us. And so all these other things are in the works, but, so very nice work, thank you. And then also, I saw, and I mentioned this to Director King earlier, there seemed to be a conflict with the code and about the commission paragraph. One is appointed by the mayor and the other one is elected by the committee officials. So that's it.
So I do, just for clarification, they do let the committee pick and then I just appoint. So I get it, but just so everybody knows. Trustee Reiners?
I think it's a great report. I'm glad I talked to Melissa about this report, that we're being apprised of everything that the commission is doing. So I'm happy with their work.
Trustee Fielko?
Yes, our village ordinance calls for it under 10.3. And although I do want to say, when we're saying it's double work, there is a statute. The Planning Commission is a very powerful unit of our government. And it is governed by the state statute. And I think Melissa's well-versed on it. And anything that's overlapping shouldn't come away from Planning Commission, it come away from other committees.
Perfect.
Because they are the recommending body. So I just heard the overlap word, I guess, maybe. But nevertheless, I think this is great. Thank you for putting the report together. It's a first, as it's been said, but it's been required in the past. But nevertheless, we've got to start somewhere. And thank you, Lynn, for being part of the Planning Commission and doing the great job that you do.
Trustee Cancelino?
No, I just want to thank Melissa King for this. This is a great summary. It's very clear. It's very colorful. But no, you did a great job on this. I think that this, because we talked about how this stuff can be, people read too much into it, this simplified it very nicely, I think, for everybody on the board, so thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to additional old business. I have just a couple of things. As you all received an email regarding the parking lot in Heritage Park, I promised the resident that I would bring it up to the board, even though I know what the consensus is after I talked to certain individuals. The proposal was to consider not doing the cul-de-sac Road and moving the new purchased property to a parking lot. I just wanted to bring that up because that was business that I had vowed to the resident that I'd bring it up. Is there any comments on that? Trustee Mason?
You know where I stand, I don't even need to go there.
Trustee Stylen?
No comments.
Trustee Reinders?
I totally disagree with with their findings, thinking that we should make this a parking lot. First of all, we've created this whole campus of Heritage Park. We've got, we've got all these different amenities here. And if we want to include that area of 151st and Cream in our campus, that will open up some opportunities for us for grant funding. If we want to put soccer there, or we want to put a basketball court there, whatever we want to do with that parcel of land, we'd still will be able to use it for overflow parking for our Homerfest. So I disagree. I don't think we should make it a parking lot. And as far as the cul-de-sac road, we've been down this road many times. And myself and Trustee Stylen have come up with another idea that's going to benefit that road. We're thinking of ways that we could do something with the sled hill, as far as, in the original master plan, it stated that there were steps on the sled hill, that there were going to be steps there. So, we all know how everybody uses Swallow Cliff. They use the steps at Swallow Cliff every single day. It's jam-packed there. So I think once we put in the cul-de-sac road and we look towards when we're going to go ahead for our grant, we're going to include all these other amenities that will suffice and will the residents will love. So I'm totally against it.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko?
Yes, when it comes to the cul-de-sac road, we have a certain part of our community that cares about environment. And their concerns are just as valid as anybody else's. We have hashed through this and how close it was to the 319 grant money, but I think the community, I think what the conversation was, because we just spent $800,000 on a piece of property that's at 151st and Cream. It's not part of our campus yet because it's not connected to anything with the village, but I think the thought was, and Rose, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not connected to any part of the village at the moment. And the thing is, I think the thought was, if you got 700 parking spots over there because you just bought something for $800,000, that you could cancel that and have the same effect, and you would get the parking that you're looking for over there and saving green space at the same time. So I get the point. I know we've hashed it through it many times. I know just that we have a few more things to spend money on. The last conversation was not the end of that project as far as money. I've spoke with Brent Westcott about it, and there's some other things that are going to take in some a lot more money than we've just covered in its initiation. But I get the person's point that asked you to bring this to the board.
Yep. Trustee Consolino?
I wasn't present for the vote the other week for the $800,000 on that piece of property. I would not have voted for it. I think I kind of expressed that earlier tonight. So therefore, I'm not going to comment any further. Okay?
Interesting. So my comment on that is, I do agree that there's a lot of people that care about open space. There's a lot of people that care about sports as well, and soccer and so forth. So I think we need a balance between sports and open space. And I just hope, that those who have the sentiments of open space, really, go to the township with actually taking what is deemed open space and turning it into an event center. So I hope we all share those same sentiments when we actually go to a vote, or not us, but when another municipality goes to a vote about actually changing the dynamics of what is actually deemed open space. This is deemed a park, and if we moved, and I'm not saying we are, but I'm saying if we were to move the soccer fields over to this portion of land, that would free up the other original open space land that was there. Okay.
Can I add something?
Sure. We can go around a second time if we'd like.
One more thing that I would like to add to that in regards to the 319 grant. I get calls on a regular basis. I do, Jen Vittori does. We all love the open space of the 319 grant, but we have residents along the fence line of the 319 grant that have snakes, rats. Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're getting calls on a daily basis for people that are complaining about that. So, I mean, I'm all for open space, but if it's gonna cause problems like this, we need to address the open space area of the 319 grant as well, so.
I'm going to go back around. Trustee Fielko, anything else?
On new business, it doesn't have to be.
Well, no, we're still talking about this subject right now.
Okay.
just wanna go
I
around
have
the
other
circle.
things,
Yeah,
subjects,
sure.
but not for
Yeah.
this.
Okay, Trustee Consolino? No? Trustee Mason?
The 319, according to Mr. Westcott, was moved and can be moved. We voted on the cul-de-sac. It's been decided. We've heard the majority, but we've also heard the majority say that they want this. When I talked to several of the trustees, including Mr. McNaughton, who's not here tonight, Sue, Rose, there's other things that could be done with that hill, including exercise, all sorts of things. I think the Swallow Cliff idea was a great idea. The parcel of land that we purchased can be used for a multitude of things. It has nothing to do with the parking. The parking's going, as far as I know, where we have decided it's going, and we've added additional open space to our realm at this point. Thank you.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I probably should have just said this earlier. The property at 151st and Cream looks better as a grass field than it would be for people to drive by a huge parking lot every day.
Okay, and then my comments would be, if we have rats over there, can we get someone to look into that? Because that's, I mean, mice I can get, but rats, no. Yeah. And just so you guys know, the Swallow Cliff idea was actually in the original plan that was removed because we did have some, we had a board member who did not like concrete, so it was removed. But I do like the idea. Okay, other old business, there's one that Trustee Fielko and I have discussed. It is tradition to pick a child who's differently abled to light the fireworks show. I should have brought this up earlier. Unfortunately, I just forgot. And Trustee Fialko is going to have his grandson assist a person with special needs. So if anybody has any recommendations for someone to light the fireworks off, we were going to have late Jacqueline's son, Mikey, do it. Change of circumstances. So if anybody has any recommendations, please submit them to the Homer Fest Committee and or the Ability Awareness Committee, and we'll select one somehow, some way. Trustee Fialko, did you want to piggyback on that? Because I know you want to talk about it. You're good?
Perfectly.
Okay. Any more old business, Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I do. When we passed the gaming ordinance before, we said that we would come back and visit the removal of the truck stops, and I'd like to make sure that we do that. And I believe also Deputy Clerk Gina Marcotte has some issues maybe with implementing some of the licensing when a business is sold in that. So I'd let her describe what she needs to be changed in that.
You want to describe it now?
I don't know if you want to do it now or if you want to do it later.
Sure, go right ahead.
So back in, I think, April 22nd, I emailed the board in regards to the changes that were made to the liquor code and the gaming code. And I know at that time I threw a lot at the board in regards to both. So when I was going back through it and I was updating it to submit it to general code, I noticed one thing that I thought that I wanted to bring before you guys, which I emailed you about, and that had to do with, so for the liquor code. Per state statute, the liquor commissioner approves and denies any changes that come before her in regards to the businesses. But the board approves increasing or decreasing the license. So then for the video gaming, how we have it now is the board approves all new video gaming licenses. But if an existing video gaming premise license moves, or if they change their location, they change their DBA, or they change their name, that has to go before the corporate authorities. So my concern is I'm trying to make the process as easy as possible for the businesses, and the liquor and the gaming go hand in hand, and it would be nice if they could mirror each other. So I just wanted to bring that back or see if the board would look at that and consider maybe changing that back to the liquor commissioner as far as those simple changes, and then maybe even the attorney could weigh in on that. How does that work if, as far as even like if they're changing their DBA, if that's something that would necessarily have to go before the board versus just having the liquor commissioner approve or deny something like that.
Right.
Under the Illinois Liquor Code, would that have to go before the liquor commissioner? Yes, it would. I mean, any sort of change would go before the liquor commissioner, but it's one solitary person, and it's relatively a quick fix, so to speak, for lack of a better word. It doesn't have to go through a complete board or application approval. Are you asking?
So I think what Gina just said was that any new, for gaming you're talking about, right? Not for liquor, for gaming. For gaming, any new gaming application would come before the board.
Correct.
But if an existing business has gaming and they were to change, you said they were to move, change their DBA or name, like their name.
Their
like
legal
if
name of the
Tavern
business,
changed it
correct.
to, you know,
So for
Marcotte's Bar.
liquor, the liquor commissioner approves it.
Correct.
So she would approve that liquor license.
Correct.
Those changes, but then for the gaming, for that license, it has to go before the corporate authority.
But so it used to be the village manager who used to approve the gaming and the mayor, or just I don't remember how it was. I think it was.
This is the village manager.
It was the village manager. But the board had changed it to have the corporate authorities do it. What Gina's asking, I think I got what you're saying, is for the liquor and the gaming to mirror each other. So it's not so, I do see what you're saying.
You're saying it makes sense to simplify it and coincide one another so they read exactly the same, so every little change that transpires, that they mirror one another, so we're not having to sit here and go through this repetitively all the time
Mirroring,
when the
yeah.
mayor can do that.
But if it's new, the board decides.
Correct. If it's a brand new license,
that works for me.
They have to go before the board.
To answer it, now I got your question. It would be a very quick change, a quick revision to make that happen, if that's what the board.
Instead of making the business go through the entire process.
Correct.
Okay.
So I just wanted to see if the board would
You guys agree with
revisit
that?
it.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Fialko?
We just amended this at the
But they don't mirror each other.
And I think, Mike, you were here at the time, and when the business sells, liquor license is a little bit different.
No, it's not saying sell. It's not talking about selling. It's saying moves, changes DBA.
I don't have it written down like you do.
Well, no, because I just wrote down what she said. I just literally wrote it down as, see? For new gaming, it's you guys, the board.
Understood.
And if it's changes the doing business as, so if Taza changes it to, you know, whatever it's called now. But I'm using it as an example, and that's why I used her.
It's to simplify it.
It doesn't have to go back before the board, it's just a name change, or doing business as, or if they move. That's as long as they follow every ordinance and everything, that approval, that they approve square footage, they've waited their time, it's a quick little, yep, you follow everything, it's good to go.
It's the liquor and the
mirrors
gaming. It's the liquor and the gaming fund.
It's still your turn, I was just correcting. I was just reiterating.
We talked about this before, and the reason was that we wanted to make it so the corporate authorities looked at it. We don't have a problem with liquor licenses and businesses. What we do have a problem with, and that's why we brought gaming up, and the gaming is what started, we started looking at everything, then we added liquor and tobacco. But the gaming was the problem, and because a lot of people say we have too much gaming in Homer Glen. So when there's this transition from a business selling it and only one person knowing about it, it was amended because all I believe four of us voted yes for the amendment. So it comes to the corporate authorities, that includes you. So it isn't like we're making a big process out of it.
I only vote if there's a tie.
So there's transparency throughout the community, and the community then has a chance to speak about it, and then also the board knows about it, because I've seen other transitions take place with businesses, including gaming, and I would say a name, but I don't think I should. And the thing is, this way there provides transparency to the public, it provides transparency to this board, and it is not the same as liquor. That's why we amended it, to keep it the way it was amended 2 meetings ago, is the way I would go. And 4 of us voted for it to be amended that way.
Well, that's just a staff recommendation because, again,
They're two different animals in my book.
okay, right. I disagree, but trustee Reinders, I'm just going to go around the room.
I'll pass.
It's not selling, you're right.
That's what I was just going to say.
He's not addressing what Gina's saying, and that's
It's a new
point.
business setup is
Right.
what he's discussing.
I get what Gina's saying, but it's, and I'll repeat it for a third time, moves, changes DBA or names to the board. Existing and already existing business who already has a gaming license.
We're talking about an asset transfer. We're not
talking about an asset transfer. We're not talking about anything of that.
What's happening.
Right. Trustee Stein, well, let Trustee Stylen go.
Yes, I didn't take that into consideration when I voted before, because if it's the same business, basically, it's not a new business. Now we're making them go through, would they go through that whole waiting period and everything? No, they just have to come before the board. And it just seems like, it just seems like we don't need to do that because they've already been approved as a business. And, if nothing else has changed other than their name and the location is a little bit different, but we don't have designated areas where gaming is only allowed. So that wouldn't matter with coming before the board either. So I would support the mayor being able to just make a quick change in the license.
Trustee Mason, did you already speak once?
No.
Okay.
Bottom line, it makes sense. It's to simplify the process, and so they coincide with one another, read the same. It's not a new business, not a brand new business, not being built. It's not somebody coming in front of us. The language probably does need to mirror each other. It's basically the same business, and I don't think we need everything in front of us all the time.
All right, so for that one, put it back on the agenda next time. But there was something that was brought up about transfer of ownership. That one gets a little risky or a little different because what is the percentage that was talked about, if so much? Because, perfect example, we have businesses in Homer Glen that change. They might have 3 owners and one gets out and one comes in. I mean, it happens quite often. So if the board has to come in to approve someone's application or buying them or someone buying in, that to me seems as it's very similar to somebody changing and doing business as. And now if it's the same location, do you see what I'm saying? If it's the same location, it's the same square footage, they have a liquor license, they have a gaming, coming before the board seems a little risky to me too, because what if someone buys, I'm just gonna give an example. Let's just say Joe Schmo comes in and buys Tavern, and they know that it's a successful business and it's got gaming and tobacco. I'm not saying that they transfer their licenses, because they don't transfer both. But what if, because there's 4 owners of Tavern, and 2 owners want to get out and want to get in, then the board can say no gaming, and now they just lost half their revenue and so forth. That's very risky for a business to buy another business. We got to be business friendly, and we got to remember that we don't want to keep making businesses that already exist jump through more hoops. That's their biggest complaint. I'll start with Trustee Mason this time.
It's a great scenario, good point. And yes, we want to be business friendly. So if there's a business that already exists, and that's a good scenario you just gave, if there's 4 owners and 2 of them, jump out and 2 new guys come in, I'm in favor of the business.
Because if it's complete ownership change, I can see where a question could come in. But however, if a complete ownership changes, how do we know? Are we going to make them wait the year for the gaming? Because just the owner changed, not the business name. There's a lot of loopholes through all these. Trustee Stylen, do you have anything? I'm going back this way now.
Okay. Yeah, that's the part I'm just struggling with, because making them wait like a year seems... they bought into a business, and for that business that's been operating the same way, now all of a sudden has to operate differently because they may not be able to demonstrate that same food sale figure
or whatever, because their business has gone down. So I don't know, that's...
You could put the motto in that they have to keep the same menu and the same hours and everything for the first year to avoid waiting there. You can always do something like that.
Right.
Trustee Reinders.
What was the state statute on this?
We're talking gaming, not liquor.
Okay.
Because
No, I
liquor,
can't talk about liquor.
Yeah, no, liquor,
I'm
have.
just talking about gaming. Just as a business owner, my concern would be, would Joe do for that new owner, just to say if you're just changing owners, you know, you're keeping everything the same, would a background check be done on them?
We do. So let me, if I may interrupt you just for
Yes,
a second.
go ahead.
So there was a situation where a business had sold before any of this discussion had happened, and background checks and all of that was done. Or let's just pretend there is a situation. And the background check probably didn't come back, let's just say it didn't come back grade A, right? We still don't have the right to deny them. Per the attorney, we do not have the right to deny them regardless of their background check. I didn't know that. We found that out recently by the Liquor Commissioner of the state. I'm sorry, the Gaming Board, we found out, and the Liquor Commissioner, correct? Which one was it?
With the Liquor Commissioner's office.
Okay, there you go. Because I did deny, and I was told I could not. So, not a recent one, something, let's just say, yeah, we can't just deny based off of background.
Wouldn't there be something in the statute that would say, I mean, because even like when you're going to fill out applications for, like with the state of Illinois, they ask you questions like, if you've ever been convicted of a crime, or, you know, do you owe this, do you owe, I mean, they ask all these questions. So, I mean, that would be my only concern.
Well,
is
gaming, they approve first. So the state approves the gaming first, but they won't turn them to us. They won't turn on their machines until we give them approval.
Right,
So if
till
the
we give
Gaming
them
Commission approves them, we really don't have a reason to deny them.
Yeah.
Mike?
There is a process for the person, the applicant, in the context of liquor, if they've been denied a license by the Liquor Commissioner, who's the president, the mayor in our jurisdiction, they have a process to appeal it. And so if the independent judgment of the Liquor Commissioner, as given to her by state statute, was to deny that application, then it stays as a denial. And then that individual applicant can then proceed through the appellate procedure, the process set forth by the State Liquor Commission, to appeal the local liquor commissioner's ruling up the chain. But it needs to go up the chain. Someone can't just shortchange that process by way of a telephone call and say, well, you can't do it this way. So it's the first I've ever heard that someone that came back with a poor background, the state liquor commissioner or someone at the state saying that, no?
Well, go ahead. It was this, go ahead.
So, no, what I was told was that we can do background checks and we can do fingerprinting. But the only thing that we're allowed to look at as far as the background checks is if they were convicted of a felony that had to do with liquor. And that's what we have to look at. We can't look at anything else. It has to be a conviction. It can't be that they were charged, but it has to be an actual conviction.
However, we can deny based on if the location isn't right, if there's other reasonings. So
And the exercise of the home rule authority, may I say something?
Yeah, but they even said it didn't apply to home rule.
In the exercise of the home rule authority that this village has, you can deny a business license based upon background that you feel is going to not be consistent with the health, safety, and welfare of this community, period. And so if the state wants to give them a liquor license, well, you don't have a place to operate liquor out of because we're not giving you a business license.
Who approves that?
So basically, back to what Gina was saying, is we just want them to mirror. And then, you approve the business licenses. I mean, I sign, but.
Yeah.
We still have a method of controlling it.
You can have standards, you can set, I mean, you have to have standards, but you can set standards and discretionary standards and benchmarks, like, for instance, felony
I'm getting
convictions.
there, guys.
crimes, misdemeanors involving theft or dishonesty, certainly someone within the past 10 years. In the court of law, we look at things within the past 10 years. The principle is Montgomery. It was a legal precedent that was established that says after a 10-year period of time, it's presumed that that individual that committed that crime, served that sentence and what have you, after 10 years, they've been rehabilitated. That's the presumption under the law. So we use in the court of law, when we're using people's backgrounds to impeach their credibility, pretty much the rule of thumb is if it's outside of 10 years, I don't care what it is, most courts are not going to allow it. If it's within 10 years and it's a misdemeanor involving a crime involving theft or dishonesty, or it could even be a bad act, quite frankly, or certainly a felony conviction, that's something that the court's going to give big consideration to and allow us to impeach that individual, their credibility based upon that. And I guess, how does that apply here? Well, for your own business licenses, if the state wants to have a completely different standard and say it's only got to be felony convictions related to alcohol, which is a very, very minute cross-section of felony convictions, I might add, you can expand what your criteria are for businesses that operate in your jurisdiction, but just define what those standards are. And we can assist with that if you'd like.
Yeah. I would almost ask you to, because we both called and we got similar answers, but it was told me you can't deny based off of just, I'd have to tell you the incidences that happened to show you that the reason why I denied certain things, and then I was told, no, you can't do that by the state. So just we could talk about
it. Sure, yes,
ma'am.
but
we don't have to give a business license.
But we don't have to give a business license. Okay. Trustee, are you done? Yeah. Trustee Fiocco?
Yes, the reason this is coming up, or the reason it was amended, is because I believe Gene Marcotte read the state statute last time, and we said if the state requires it, then there's no reason why we shouldn't require it. Now, I don't know if we have it, but when we first started, we said, oh, no sale of business, just DBA change or whatever. Then we went around again, and we're talking about selling the business. So really, when it comes down to it, I'm okay with making the change if it doesn't involve the sale of a business, as long as the attorney reviews it and makes sure that that's the case. I think this is a little more complicated than what we're just addressing at the moment, because it's become, this is, how many times has this come back? So the thing is, if you review it, Mike, and you say, yes, that's okay, I could see that would be okay. But the thing is, we started off saying, without the sale of a business, it was only DBA. Then we came back around, and then we said, well, if the business sells, we want to be able to do it, for you to be able to do that. So it's been a little confusing when we got to this point. And Mike, I don't know if you have any other input, but I mean, realistically, for that change, I'd like it to be reviewed by you before it's presented to the board.
So just so I'm clear, you're okay with the first one, the name change, doing business, and location, but you want attorney review if there's a sale?
Well, right. Well, DBA is...
And then who approves? The mayor?
DBA is doing business as. You can change that in your LLC anytime, or come up with but when you have transfer of ownership, and I think Mike addressed it, that is somewhat of a concern if you're having, and we're talking about in the second part, we were talking about the sale of the business, not just the DBA. So that's where
So you do know we do that. We do have, when there's a sale, we do have an attorney take a peek at it to see if it looks legit and the sale percentages and all that are okay. And then, who are you saying approves it after that?
That's not what I'm talking about, a regular business. We're talking about specifically gaming.
Right, that's what I'm saying, gaming.
And knowing the change of one business is one thing. The time that we take as far as with what has to be done according to the state statute. Matter of fact, if Gina Marcotte could bring that back as to what the review is that the state requires, and Mike can review that, and we can be parallel with what the state requires, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. Trustee Hanselino?
I want to see it in writing. I want to see whatever the state liquor commissioner is claiming on the phone. I'm not comfortable with all this he said, she said. I want it in writing. I think the entire board is entitled to see it in writing.
You can reach out to them yourself, you know.
I want to see it in writing.
Just so you can hear it for yourself.
So, no, I want to see it in writing. I want to see.
You can email them too.
Okay. I want to see it in writing, because that's the way it should be. And, you know, if somebody, you know, like the exact words that the attorney used, health, safety, and welfare. I'm not comfortable with anybody transferring anything. I'm just not, because you don't know what their background is. And if it is true that, okay, they can only be convicted of yada yada, you know, for it to affect this, no, you don't know if they're a drug cartel, you don't know if they're mafia. No.
You're talking about for gaming, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a big moneymaker, so no, I want to see this in writing first.
Understood. So, but what if it comes to a business?
I think, Madam Mayor, I think they're just saying, may I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what they're saying is that they want to see the iteration of the amendments and what we're talking.
No, she's saying she'd like to see it from the attorney, that what Gina had got from the, not the attorney, from the Liquor Commission, correct? She wants to see it in writing about the denial and what we talked about. Gina?
So I just want to say that in our current code right now, any new owners and all managers have to have a background check. And
all managers.
Correct, and that's with liquor. It's not in video gaming, because again, it goes side by side. It's just in the liquor, and we do that. We have, and especially this year for the renewals, I made sure every single manager listed on the application had a background check, and every owner had a background check. So that's something that's in our ordinance that's continually being done.
Sure.
So if there's a change in ownership,
they
still have to get a background check.
Yes.
But what I think what Trustee Consolino is asking you for is from when you spoke to the state where they said you can't deny, correct?
Yes, if we're going to give up our corporate authority on this again, then I want to see it in writing. I want to see what all the
You're
checks
not
and
giving up
balances
because you
are.
haven't gotten it yet.
I'm just a little confused with the background.
It's already in our ordinance.
Our background check is in the ordinance.
You want to mirror one from the other. We've already given it up on the one. I don't want to give it up on the other.
You're not giving up anything.
We argued about this, and I'm remembering it now, so
You guys are not giving up anything. You haven't gotten it yet. You haven't received the power to do so yet. In fact, you guys are taking everything away from the mayor, in which I was elected by the residents to do. This board keeps slowly taking, over the last 4 years, I mean, I would like somebody to tell me what the mayor's duties are, because for the first year I've been asking what my duties are, and I still haven't received anything. But Ms. Marcotte, can you please provide her with the statement, email them again, and get a statement from them on which you were told. Please provide them with what our previous or current, because it's not approved yet, ordinances show, and what we actually do, like an SOP, and how we do it. Because I know you have done that already, but can you do it again?
Yes, and then I just want to say just one more time, so per state statute, the liquor commissioner is the one that approves and that denies the liquor licenses, and that's where the...
Does not need to come before the board.
Correct, and that's where the background checks are
And out of courtesy, I bring it to the board, correct?
Correct,
Yes,
and
thank you.
background checks are not done for gaming.
Correct.
It's not a state requirement
May I
either.
add something? And the reason why, may I say something? And the reason why you don't have a background check written into the gaming code is because in order to have a gaming license, you have to have a liquor license.
Correct.
So automatically, we're getting the background checks done in a liquor context, and therefore, you know, they're going hand in hand. They're going coterminous.
Okay, wait, let Gina finish her one sentence, and then we'll come back to you.
No, that was it, yes,
Okay.
correct.
That, Mike just said exactly what I've been getting from this. We've disconnected them. We need to reconnect them because the background check has already been done, and we're going to give you a background check, provided you go out to business, you want a liquor license, but right now there's nothing stopping gaming. But you would if you remarry them and you put them back together and they work in unison.
So...
I think a good way to kind of resolve this would be to let it go that way, but write it into it that all corporate authorities will be notified also.
And I've already stated it would. In fact, one of the businesses I'm going to talk about is something else that pertained to another liquor license / gaming, which is going to come up next, but I want to talk about that first. So Gina, would you please rewrite all of that in a clean, but of course, anything new for gaming would come before the board, and I actually prefer it that way.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so we're done with that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the next one is, I was going to give you an update of a gaming application that came before us. Mr. Baber did his due diligence. He He went out there a couple times. I know Trustee Mason and Trustee Stylen had visited as well. We did have an applicant who had made some promises of some things, did not fulfill his promises, which he gave an application prior to the moratorium that came in, so they fell under the previous ordinance, which then I had denied his application for gaming due to the fact that his menu had changed without even notifying us. The aesthetics, all of everything in which what we were told and promised and which were in the minutes were not fulfilled. So when the application came before me, I gave him a certain amount of period of time to fulfill those needs, and it did not happen. My recommendation to you is, since now it's going to be a new one, he applied for that in September. I'm assuming you guys all know who I'm talking about. He applied for it in, not September, August? September. He applied for it in September. We have a 1-year wait period of time that you guys are proposing in the new ordinance. I suggest that you wait for that 1 period of time because this person had so many months to prove what he was going to do. He did not prove that to us. In fact, actually went backwards. So my recommendation is to not give it a month, not give it 2 months, wait until the actual 1-year time frame is done, and then review, stop back in, make sure everything's good, and then vote upon it as so choose. Was that the update you were looking for?
No.
Oh. No, I meant like for an update on what.
I do have a question about that situation, because there's a homemade sign out in front that's pretty hideous. It's been up there for months and months. Can we please address that?
But we have so wait a minute though, we do have a lot of homemade signs everywhere.
No, this is right on Bell Road. It's pretty.
We have some right on 143rd, which I'd love
to.
The signs on 143rd.
Where are we on the sign ordinance?
On the what?
On the political sign ordinance.
Oh wait, let's finish the one first. So if we're going to, what we talked about about the sign ordinance is you can't tell one, not the others. So if you're going to take away one, you have to take them all away. In which I do appreciate the ones on 143rd Street. Homemade signs actually it makes it feel homey, I get it, but you can't pick and choose which one is which is appeasing to our eyes and which ones aren't.
Those are on private property though. Sorry. I know what you're talking about now. Those are on private property.
Which I don't know where I've never seen the other
homemade
sign.
signs that are on 143rd.
Right, but I don't know where the other sign is that you're talking about. I've never seen it.
This is in reference to the business.
Right, I didn't see it, so I don't know.
So it's right in that strip mall. Right on Bell
Joe,
Road.
have you seen it? The sign, the homemade sign that's in front of this business? Yeah. Oh, you have? Okay.
We got temporary signs that we had. We'll take a look at it.
Trustee Fielko, did you have something to add?
On that conversation?
Yeah.
Well, we've got a signed moratorium in effect right now till December 31st, I think. So I don't know, you'd have to look at what the moratorium allowed, and I think it was signs that are a certain measurement, and I don't think we put any limitations on what and how it was put on there. Maybe we should have. But yeah, before we scold somebody for something that they're not doing anything wrong.
And that would bring me to unless Trustee Reiner has something else, and then we're going to go to Attorney Mike on the sign ordinance that Trustee Consolino was just referencing. She wanted to know an update or have you give an update on the temporary sign ordinance, right?
Yeah, political sign ordinance.
Political sign ordinance, I'm sorry.
No, political signage was an area when I spoke, I don't know, several months back. That has been preempted by state statute. We are not permitted to regulate in that space. That's an area that's exclusive to the state. That's not something that we can touch when we talk about political signage. I think the last several months back, I had read the actual codes and I gave an iteration, a little speech on the analysis of that and what our opinion was on that. But as it the current state of Illinois law is that, for political signage, political speech, that's regulated solely by the state. That's not something that we can exercise our home rule authority with.
So, in hindsight now, the state statute overrides our statute, correct?
Ma'am, I'm not prepared to talk about I don't have the ordinance in front of me right here. I do remember, I did look at what yourself and Trustee Fialko provided us. We reviewed it, and I thanked everybody for their input and everything, but the bottom line is that this was an area that was preempted expressly by state law. Clearly said that this was going to be an area that the state legislature believed was outside of the Home Rule Authority and was going to be within their province to regulate.
So what are we going to do about our ordinance then? That means nothing.
I guess I'm confused.
I don't hear. If we would like to bring up our ordinance again, I don't have it in front of me.
But that's what we did a consensus for, was for you to review it and help us shore it up. So if we're not able to do that, then we need to change our ordinance.
No, we were asked to take a look at, you wanted to adopt the county ordinance or things of that nature, and we looked at it and we said we couldn't do those things because the state law expressly preempted it. The state law allowed certain signage, square footage or things of that nature. I don't remember the exact phraseology. I don't have it in front of me now. I wasn't asked to bring it today. It wasn't part of my report today. So if we can continue this to the next meeting, I could take a look at what you provided us, and I can go back and give our response to that and what the state statute allows us to do.
Mike, would you be so kind to remind the attorney when we get closer to bring an update on what we're supposed to do for signs? And I killed the bug. Yes, that works, okay. Was there anything else under old business?
One more thing, quick and painless. Grocery sales tax, because
you said painless.
Village manager brought this up. I don't believe there's a verdict out on it yet, but I want to ask staff, between the village manager and between John Sawyer's, how much do we stand to lose?
700,000.
I thought it was a little over that.
Isn't that right?
Yep.
Annually.
Approximately.
So that's how much it will be, and do we know anything about where that?
We're watching it. I'm working with other
So
municipalities.
you're saying 700, correct?
Did you send an email update on that? I think you did, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep. It's being watched by different municipal agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Is that only, that's only on groceries though, right? The
Correct.
1% loss is only on grocery sales, right? Okay. And we've determined that it's about $700,000.
Correct.
For Homer, just for
Just
Homer.
for Homer, okay.
Yep.
There's a big push from municipalities, IML, and different groups to fight any governor's decision on that.
Well, I do remember at one time there was no grocery tax at all anywhere, but that changed over the years. But nevertheless, was it my turn now?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Joe sent an email about information on that, I think Joe is going to continue to send updates on that, so just keep making sure that you read those, only because there's sensitive information in there that we should keep reading. Yes.
Okay, under old business, mosquitoes with Clark. I talked the other day, Joe, you said today that they're not starting until when?
They're going to start in June.
In June. Was there any way that they can move that forward? I mean, there's a lot of complaints with the mosquito population, and they did find West Nile virus and Zika last year. So is there any way that we can...
I could inquire as to that. I think right now I don't know with the condition of the cicadas, if that may have something to do with them spraying, may or may not, if that would affect them. But I can inquire with Clark and see what their answer is.
Yeah, because they're ferocious out there right now, and it's all over Facebook and everywhere else. So.
Oh, I know, I got tagged 3 times in it.
What I did do, with the pollinators, we talked about this before, now that we're starting mosquito season and spraying through Clark, Jack Pemish gave his video that I asked to have reposted.
It's on the website.
It's not on there yet.
No, it is.
The other day,
It's on the
I
website.
posted it to the Facebook page, which I don't normally do. But I think it's very important that we attach that information to the front of our village website so Penny can take those calls and redirect them right to the website in the video. They can watch that and call Clark.
It's on there, yep.
How it doesn't affect the pollinators like a lot of people do. Clark.
Yep, it's on the website.
It's on the front of the page now?
It may not be on the front, oh, it is
No,
on
I
the front
looked for it.
page.
It's not there.
Talk loud, though. Talk loud, we can't hear you.
It is, if you go to the environment page, it's in there, but also. Oh, no, it's on the news flash.
It's on the news flash
Well,
page.
just to cut to the chase, we put it, usually seasonally, we put it on the front page where the information is at on our village website. If we could just do that for the season and then kind of remove it like we did, I think Mike posted it last year and the year before, so, just so that communication is out there for the public.
Got it.
The next thing would be the streetlights. I talked to Brent Woods about this and our progress. What I spoke about at our last board meeting was to be a little more proactive for our community, to find the streetlights that are out and to fix them instead of waiting for a phone call to come in and then we react to the phone call. Brent, would it be okay if Brent kind of explains what they did and where they're at with that for the community?
Sure.
He said he would when I asked him.
Dan, I don't know if you heard my report earlier this evening. Our EMA guys are going out, in fact, I think they're even out tonight, evaluating our 700 streetlights. They've got a list of probably 50, I think, already that are out. They're out tonight. They're doing different sections of the community, and we're reporting that to our contractor that repairs those. Lions Pinner, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, all that information didn't come out, and what you did cover it briefly, but previous to me coming here a couple days ago, we spoke, and I didn't know you had spoke to each other and then said what you said. So I don't know if we could still ask Mr. Woods if he could, just briefly cover what he's done, because he took the initiative to do it.
Well,
Yes, but I think we got it covered. Yeah. I mean, with the amount of emails I get about streetlights.
Okay, so the way I understand it, we've got people out from FEMA. Am I correct?
no, that is not, that's Ron Cook.
Right. Okay, so who are the people that are going out on the street at night?
Our EMA staff. Our EMA staff, emergency management staff.
Okay, so EMA is going out, they're out there with maps. How long are they going to be out there for?
Until it's done. We have 700 streetlights they have to evaluate.
I assumed it was going to take about 2 weeks to get it done.
They should probably be.
Nevertheless, they're going through all of them.
Yep.
They're making a list. They're going to get them.
Checking it twice, the whole thing.
All right. And then there's little lines down there. It'll be taken care of. Okay.
Yep.
It's been a big problem for the village and the people that are complaining why we weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to know that we took that initiative. It's getting done, and we're good.
Yep, there's quite a few that are out.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say is we should be canceling our June 26th village board meeting.
I think we already did that, didn't we?
No, I
That's
thought-
on the next agenda meeting.
Oh,
That's the
that's
day
maybe.
before the festival.
Yeah, it's on the next agenda because we discussed it before. Yeah. Yeah, I think we did
It's already on
already.
a
Okay.
draft agenda.
All right, trustee Reinders, you got anything? No. Trustee Stylen, do you have anything under old business?
No.
Trustee Mason, anything under old business? I just have one thing. Our American Legion, veteran banners, I know it was already kind of discussed that they're going out. We did close the application process temporarily, but that does not mean that people cannot still submit because we still have more polls that we can put the flags on. We just, we wanted to get these up so we had enough time before Memorial Day and we had a cutoff just to make sure there was no stragglers. So please, if you still want a veteran banner, please submit the application and we'll keep moving forward. And we just can't submit one at a time. We got to do them in stacks. So just so you know, so I know you wanted a banner too. Okay, new business. Anybody got any new for business? Trustee Mason. Trustee Fialko.
The only thing I'd like to just remind us, because Joe, it was talked about before with the different village manager, but in so many years, the Illinois American Water is looking at lead pipe, going to be looking for the lead pipe water services that are in our community. And I just want to make sure that we're staying on top of that to get those identified, to see if we even have any. Matter of fact, it'd be nice to know if you could make a phone call and ask them where they're at percentage-wise that they think with lead pipes, and the replacement process is supposed to take place in the next 2 years, I think. So if we could find that out. That'd be it for me, though.
Where did you get that information from?
I was in the IML magazine.
Oh, I didn't see that in there. Interesting. Okay, Trustee Consolino, did you have anything for new? Trustee Reinders? No. No. Trustee Steilen?
No.
Trustee Mason? The only thing I have for new is two things. One, I did look for the policy on political donations for the village, and I could not find it. Trustee Fielko, I know you had mentioned it, because there's been some requests coming in for election time is coming up, and people are looking to make donations for our different events, and I want to make sure that our ordinance is written so that could be another thing added for A&F, because I just didn't see it. I know, Trustee Fielko, you said you had something, but we just couldn't find it.
I think it's a state statute.
And it could be a state statute, I just don't know. I'm not an attorney, and I didn't write the statute, so I'm not really sure. But just if we can look into that and then provide it to the entire board, that would be great. And then, Dan, I know that, ironically, you had mentioned the other day about the 75 megapasses that the committee receives for Homerfest. Ironically, I did today get some questions on it, so if you could provide the board with a list of who those megapasses go to, that would be great.
Yes, I can start off by letting everybody know where we start.
No, you don't have to do it now.
Oh.
Yeah, just know if
When do
you
you want it
describe the
by?
list.
When it's all done?
Whenever you email it. I mean, well, there's got to be some sort of SOP who you give it to or how you do it, right? So yeah, so just send it to the board and let them know how you get it. Or how you choose, how your committee chooses who they go to. Yeah, so, yeah, because I know it's part of the contract, so that's good, and it says committee approved, so just so we have who gets them.
Yeah, I keep track of everybody.
Yeah, I know you do. I just, it got brought up today, ironically, so. All right, so now there's no workshop, and now we're going to go into executive session. I do have a question. Are you adding your executive session minutes? No. Okay. All right, so we're going to go into executive session to discussion pertaining to potential real estate acquisition, discussion pertaining to municipal utilities, and discussion regarding pending litigation. And then, what do I say for that, or?
Union negotiation.
And also for land acquisition and union negotiations. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Reinders and Fielko, all in favor? Aye. 5-minute break?
Aye, thank you.
5-minute break sounds great.
5-minute break. Oh, my God.
5 minutes.